Only she can do the tap.
Welcome to the Midcoast Community Council meeting of April 23rd, 2014. Will the council members please introduce themselves?
Dave Olson.
Dan Haggerty.
Lisa Ketchum
Joel Janelle.
Aaron Deinzer.
and Nicholas.
All right.
The Board of Supervisors report is the first item on our agenda, and Supervisor Horse's legislative aide, Nicholas Calderon, will give the report.
Well, thank you for having me. It's good to see everyone. So, first on our list, next Friday on May 2nd, Supervisor Horsley and Assemblymember Rich Gordon will be holding joint office hours in Half Moon Bay. So we'll be at the Half Moon Bay Coffee Company from 8 to 9:30. So we're switching up the time a little bit. We're hoping to get people before they go to work, maybe. Try to see if we can open it up to people who haven't had the opportunity to attend in the past. So once again, next Friday, May 2nd, we will be holding, Supervisor Horsley and Assemblymember Gordon will be holding joint office hours. If anyone has any questions, please give me a call, and I'm happy to answer any questions. You can reach me at Supervisor Horsley's office, 363-4569. We look forward to seeing everyone there. Secondly, last week we were happy to receive support for our grant application for the parallel trail in Montero and Moss Beach from the Carrillo Unified School District. So the MCC has been kind enough to support that project. The Carrillo Unified School District has supported that project, and we will be going before the PTO to try to get their support. Given the location of the trail, this is going to be a good opportunity for a trail that serves multiple purposes. So it will be the parallel trail, has the potential to be the coastal trail, and it can also be a safe route to school. So we are working very hard to make the coast side a more pedestrian and bicycle safe and friendly community, and so this will be a big step for that. So we're excited about that. The grant application is going well, and everything looks like it's on track. Last meeting I talked about how we're making ground with the congestion management project, which has been in the work for several years now. So it looks like now will probably be the best time to start meeting. As I said last meeting, we'll meet with the subcommittee, which is Lisa, Laura, and Dan, and so we'll get that going and really do a good outreach process. We want to make sure we get to engage people who have participated in projects in the past, as well as people who haven't had the opportunity or maybe new to the coast side. So if anyone has questions about what the congestion management project is, which a summary is they're safe pedestrian crossings, raised medians, and left turn lanes throughout the Midcoast. They were conceptualized during the Highway 1 Safety and Mobility Improvement Study, which was developed by the community out here. And so if anyone has questions about that, please let me know. You can also contact the supervisor's office, and I'll be happy to take your contact information down and let you know when we're moving forward with that. But I'll email the subcommittee coming up here and let you guys know what's going on. And we'll go ahead and meet and start working on that process. And that's all I have today.
I just wanted to add to the congestion management, well, the Highway 1 trails and all that on the MCC, on the Midcoast Community Council website. There is an issues page called Highway 1, and you'll have some of these projects are described, and background documents are there. If you want to explore further, that's also a useful source. Does anyone have questions for Nicholas?
I got a question. Nicholas, would it be more accurate to say that the mobility study was formed by the community in conjunction with the contractor, that the consultants, the whole study, mobility study, was the publication that we had to work with was conjunction, right? It was
Well,
kind of a collaboration.
I think that's a way you could look at it now. I was here, I came on the end of that process, and from what I saw and from the way I understand the process took place, is the community prioritized what was important for them, and the community established the community should have the opportunity to determine what they want to see. And so, yeah, there was a consultant who did the drawings, and there was a consultant who helped facilitate the process. But the ideas and the concepts came from the community. And so I think calling it a community developed plan is very appropriate.
Yeah, what you said is not accurate. It should be brought to the context for that to the government.
I think it's also useful to point out that the action plan that came out of this, that the items that were least controversial and most desired in the near term are the ones included in this project, which are the safe crossings, the left turn lanes, and basically the safety through the Midcoast for pedestrians and bicycles. And
That's right, and Lisa, I think that's a really good point. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, after that study was published, the county worked with the Midcoast Community Council during over a span of a year with community input to prioritize which of those projects were most important, and the ones that we're pursuing right now were designated short-term top priority, and so that's why we're pursuing these projects right now. But I do think there was extensive community process, and I think the community, my understanding is that these projects really were developed by the community through charrettes and engagement meetings and walking tours. So, like I said, I think it's an accurate statement.
Yeah, it was a very long process, and I wasn't involved in the whole process. I know some of the folks in the room were involved, and I'm sorry, Len, you made a comment, but I didn't quite hear it.
The community brought the context for that to the county government.
Okay.
all right, this isn't a discussion about the Highway 1 mobility. This is just if you had specific questions for Nicholas at this time, okay?
Yes, sir, it is.
Where do I find it?
Is it on the MCC's website?
Yes, it's on the MCC website on the issues page called Highway 1. It's all there. Okay, the next item on the agenda is public comment. Anyone may speak up to 3 minutes on any topic not on the agenda. Please fill out a speaker slip, and the council may not discuss or take action on items that are not on the agenda. Leonard.
Leonard Warren, Granada. 2 quick announcements. This Saturday, which I think is the 23rd, I can't see the calendar from here.
This is the 23rd today.
I mean the 26th, right, yeah, 26th, is the quarterly recycle event for people who live within Granada Sanitary District and have trash pickup service from Recology. And the other announcement is we're having a special meeting, a town hall meeting, which I think is supposed to be Q&A regarding the reorganization that's on the ballot in June as Measure G, and that will be May 1st, I think. Is that a Thursday?
May 1st.
Yeah, that'll be May 1st, and
7:30.
7:30 at the El Granada School.
El Granada School. And what did you call it again?
Going to be, a town hall type
Town
meeting.
hall, okay.
Basically Q&A for people who may not have made up their minds yet on how to vote. I understand we just got yesterday the endorsement from the Half Moon Bay Review, so that's kind of big news.
Yes.
Hmm?
Yes.
Yeah,
In
supposedly it's
today's
in the paper today.
Yeah.
Well, got to wait for tomorrow for it to be on the website.
Right.
Because 50 cents or whatever it is for that newspaper.
75.
75, yeah, right. Well, that tells you how long it's been since I paid money for it. So yeah, come and get questions answered, and hopefully that'll be a much more civil meeting than the last town hall, which was disrupted by electioneering.
We'll make every effort to get the word out. Thank you.
On Saturday, there will be a mailer, so people should get it maybe Monday or Tuesday.
Oh, good.
To all, I guess all residents of the district, either all residents or property owners, I'm not sure which,
Okay.
because that's done by staff. Okay.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Lieutenant Mike, I forgot you.
Hi, good evening, members of the board, members of the community. Captain Mike Maskeridge from Redwood City CHP. A few follow-up items from last meeting that I attended. As I was leaving the meeting, a constituent approached me about the striping on Highway 1 in front of Safeway on the shoulder if you're traveling southbound. Had been worn away over the years, and it was confusing as to whether or not that was a shoulder or if it was a traffic lane. So I reached out to Caltrans. Within days, they came out and restriped that area. It is clearly a shoulder. It's not meant to be traveling on. If you're coming up to the shopping center and you're within 100 feet of the entrance, you can certainly pull in there, but it's not intended to be a main course of travel. And so for bicyclists and pedestrians, it was somewhat of a hazard for them to be in that area. So it's clearly marked now with the solid lines as well as the diagonal lines. So that was put into place. I also received a report of a movie detail that was taking place here a few weeks back on the coast that caused a considerable backup. My officers were out here, and I received a number of inquiries as to that. We looked at the actual permit, and according to my officers, that permit was being operated appropriately. However, it was clearly a concern, and it's something that we want to work with the Film Commission. I mean, they essentially are approached by the various entities as to whether they want to seek a permit. Then the Film Commission works to prepare the permit. We just actually take the permit and make sure that it's being operated within the context of what the permit allows. And if there's a significant safety issue, we can certainly shut the detail down. We want to be very prudent when we do that because of the the pushback that we get as well when we're shutting down these details. But that being said, if you have further concerns or further details come up of that nature, please, if there's problems, reach out to us so that we're aware of it. If it's an ongoing problem, if it's a particular film company or production crew that seems to be creating this, we want to make sure that we're more engaged in looking at what the permit is entailing as to whether or not we're going to want to support that. So we don't necessarily have a thumbs up or thumbs down stake in the process, but we certainly do carry a voice, and we can reach back out to the Film Commission. We have a unit within the Highway Patrol out of our Sacramento office, our headquarters, that addresses that. And then the third thing I want to bring up, one of the members of the board actually brought up a parking complaint to us. We were looking into it. The vehicle had since moved, so that seems to have corrected itself for the short term. But on the long term, if it's a particular complaint or a neighborhood complaint as it relates to parking, please let us know. We can work with Public Works for San Mateo County. They're the ones that do all the posting of the signs. They're the ones that would have to do the permitting as to whether or not an area would be designated as a no parking zone or limited parking. We want to be, of course, cognizant and responsive to the needs of the residents. If it's someone's in front of their house and they're parking their own vehicle, certainly if there's an effort to paint a red line down the middle of their curb, that could cause a problem. So we want to try to see what we can do to amicably resolve those situations. And again, Highway Patrol doesn't control the parking. We certainly handle the enforcement aspects, but we can certainly reach out to our counterparts in Public Works and make recommendations as necessary. And that is all I have to report.
I have a quick question for you, Mike.
Yes.
Have you had any feedback or similar feedback regarding the marathon?
Oh, I'm sorry. One thing I wanted to bring up. My officers have reported to me that was a considerable, it caused considerable congestion in the area, particularly as it moved further down into Half Moon Bay. Part of that, the traffic control was in place by the Sheriff's Department. So anything that was within the city limits of Half Moon Bay, even if it was on Highway 1, would be in the context of Sheriff's Department jurisdiction. But that being said, I would like to be able to reach out, if it's planning to take place next year, which probably it will, to the event organizers and see if there's an alternate route. One of my officers who grew up in the area and is very familiar said that there's actually a tunnel that goes underneath Highway 1 further down into Half Moon Bay that the participants could have utilized if the route had taken them that way, and it would have negated them actually coming out onto Highway 1. So it's those types of things. Again, I drive up and down Highway 1. I don't know what's necessarily underneath the roadway, but if somebody knows of a particular route that might be more advantageous than another, that's something that we want to know about as well, so that we could reach out with the event organizers. And while we want to have a safe, successful event, we want to make sure that the impact to the community is certainly at a minimum, particularly when it comes to safety concerns, congestion, traffic relief, those types of matters. So thank you very much for bringing that up.
I had one question for you. Is this the State Film Commission?
Yes, it is, California Film Commission, yes.
Well, no surprise.
But our liaison is actually in Sacramento at our headquarters. So we, again, we have details that take place all over the state, certainly all over the Bay Area. it's a blessing and a curse. I mean, we live in such a beautiful area, whether it's the Golden Gate Bridge, the peninsula, the coast. There's no shortage of companies that come out here that want to film, and we want to try to work with them to the greatest extent possible, at the same time recognizing the needs and concerns of the people who live and work here.
They simply have no right to shut down the only highway at peak commute time, which is exactly what they did.
And it was to be in very limited duration, and as we saw, that limited duration still caused considerable congestion in the area. So again, those are things that we want to be cognizant of and be able to work with the film commission, these various production companies.
And by the way, they also need an encroachment permit from Caltrans.
That is part of it,
Caltrans
yes.
said no.
And again, we don't, just so the community understands, we don't determine those permits. They don't come to us, they go directly to Caltrans, and Caltrans is the entity that would approve or deny the permit. All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nicholas, you had one more thing?
Yeah, actually, to build on what the captain said, actually, Chris Hunter from Supervisor Horsley's office is working with Planning and Building Department, Sheriff's Office, CHP, to refine the special events permit and to make sure that things like this can be mitigated or avoided in the past. Not avoided having events, but avoided, having disasters, unexpected consequences of events, I should say. Lastly, this Sunday is the Pacific Coast Dream Machine. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure. So this Sunday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. So this year it's going to be a one-day event, and so talk about. And so I just wanted to make sure everyone knew about that. Let them know. We'll be at the Half Moon Bay Airport once again from 10 to 4, which usually means that with that comes some level of congestion. So if you're a resident out here, you're going to want to plan accordingly.
Okay.
See, plan accordingly.
So,
Public comment still open?
did you have a public comment?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so I just wanted to let it be known that tonight, the Coastside Fire Protection District is discussing with the Harbor District Committee regarding land acquisition, and appears to be the post office lot, the property that's immediately adjacent to the El Granada Post Office. And there was public comment at the April 2nd meeting, the Harbor District, to try to slow down the movement of any transfer of ownership of that lot, and it looks like it seems to be moving forward with the fire district. So it's unfortunate that it's happening at the same meeting, the same evening as our meeting right now. So I just wanted to let it be known that it's being discussed.
Anybody else have announcements for the public? Okay, I'll close the public comment. We have no items on the consent agenda tonight. They were not submitted in time, so we have no action there. The first item on our regular agenda is rodenticides, and this is sponsored by Erin Deinzer, and I'll turn this over to her to introduce the topic.
Hi, thanks again for coming. I'll let Lisa get set up here and just give a brief kind of introduction. 8 million pounds of rat poison has been sold in California, most of it under the decon label. While the intent of those poisons has been to rid the state of unwanted rodents, the fallout has resulted in the poisoning of thousands of pets per year. The California Department of Fish and Wildlife has been investigating the deaths of animals in the wild that have died from poisoning. The department's Wildlife Investigation Laboratory has confirmed at least 300 cases of wildlife poisoning from anticoagulant rodent baits. Animals harmed include coyote, gray fox, red fox, San Joaquin kit fox, fisher, raccoon, fox squirrel, bobcat, mountain lion, black bear, Herman's kangaroo rat, bald eagle, golden eagle, Canada goose, great horned owl, barn owl, red-shouldered hawk, red-tailed hawk, Cooper's hawk, turkey vulture, and wild turkey. Since animals typically retreat to their dens, burrows, or other hiding places in the final stages of anticoagulant poisoning, The number of non-target wildlife killed by these compounds is likely to be much greater than documented. Field monitoring of wild populations of animals confirms widespread exposure to these poisons by predatory and scavenging wildlife. Raptors Are the Solution is a Bay Area conservation group that's working to eradicate anticoagulants from our ecosystem by banning the sale and use of these deadly toxins. The following is an educational presentation given by Lisa Owens-Viani, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, of RATS that is intended to inform the public on the issue. Thanks.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me? I feel like I don't even really need this.
The microphone is for the recording.
Oh, okay. Okay, thanks. Good evening, everybody. Thanks, Erin, for that introduction, and she kind of gave my entire presentation.
Oh, sorry.
Not really. I'll add to that. One thing I wanted to correct is that we are not working to ban these products. We are working with cities and counties to ask them to pass resolutions discouraging stores from selling the products. So there's a big difference. The state is actually trying to ban these products, and unfortunately, they've just been sued by the maker of Decon. So that whole process is tied up in lawsuits. But cities cannot ban what the state has not banned. So that's just a little difference in terminology there. So I formed my group because I live in Berkeley, and let's see, back in 2007, my neighbor came running over to my house with a black plastic garbage bag and asked me if I could identify the birds that were in it. They were birds that had gone to his kiddie pool, his son's pool, because they were thirsty, and what was happening is they were hemorrhaging internally from having ingested poison rats. It turns out that they were fledgling Cooper's hawks. I had been watching them as part of a study for the Golden Gate Raptor Observatory to look at nesting success in Cooper's hawks in Berkeley and the East Bay. And so these were the young that had fledged in the nest I was watching that year. So that's how I got interested in this issue and how I got started. So with the director of the Golden Gate Raptor Observatory, Alan Fish, we formed an organization called Raptors Are the Solution. We didn't form it until 2011. What I did is, after my neighbor came over with the dead hawks, I went around and leafleted my neighborhood, talked to my neighbors, trying to figure out who was using rat poison. Everybody denied it. I never did find out who was using it, but I was just devastated by seeing these gorgeous animals die that way. So we decided to form an organization to try to do something about it. And one of the reasons is, of course, because urban raptors are so gorgeous, and they offer us this thrill to see them doing their work out there in the environment, plus they are offering us free pest control services. They have a really critical and unique place in the ecosystem. They are very good at controlling rodents. That's what they do. They're efficient killing machines, and if we let them do their job, they're very good at it. Raptors, despite their kind of strong look and fierce demeanor sometimes, are really very vulnerable, and many raptors don't survive their first year. They face threats from power lines. They run into power lines a lot, car accidents, wind turbines. And those are all things that are sort of, we need cars, we need power, we need energy. But then the biggest new threat is, of course, from poison. And that one, I think, is not really fair, because we don't need to use poison. We need all that other stuff. So how the products I'm talking about tonight are mostly the anticoagulants, which are basically cause an animal to bleed to death. So how they work is, obviously, the rat eats the bait. The poison makes it thirsty. It starts to bleed internally. A weakened rat then seeks water. Even if it's in your house, it can get out and look for water outside. Becomes an easy target for a predator, not only raptors, but obviously cats, all the animals that Erin mentioned before. I have a whole list of them. Anything that's a predatory animal, coyotes, mountain lions, bobcats. And then the predator actually ends up being poisoned itself, so we call it secondary poisoning. It only takes one rat to do that, because this stuff is so toxic that it's like a little walking time bomb. And these products are just so lethal and strong that that can easily wipe out the predatory animal. In contrast, one red-shouldered hawk can kill 30 rodents in 1 month. So again, if we just will let them do their job, that's kind of our motto. We don't need the stuff in the little yellow cheese-shaped, wedge-shaped box. The other impact these products are having is on people's pets. This was a young dog that his owners weren't using poison, but he made his way into the neighbor's garage one day, and they had no idea that the neighbors were using poison. So the neighbors were using one of these lovely little green trays of loose pellets, and you can see the pellets, and then on the other side is this poor dog's actually feces. So the dog ended up dying. They were not able to save him. This is just another victim, an elderly woman's golden retriever. She was devastated. A cat, many, many, many more like these. This is the Cooper's hawk. This is one of the birds I was watching back in 2007, and you can see it's got a rat in its talons. When I first started my organization, people would say, well, Cooper's hawks don't catch rats. They only catch small birds. Actually, they eat quite a few rats. This was the parent feeding the chicks, and then these were the fledglings, the one that my neighbor found drowned in his kiddie pool. So as I mentioned, in 2011, it happened again. There was another Cooper's hawk that actually a young boy and his dad had been watching the nest. And I just happened to be walking down the street and saw this hawk laying in a pool of blood on the sidewalk and asked if I could have the body. And so the body was sent to the Fish and Game offices in Sacramento, and it came back positive for rat poison, the active ingredient that's in decon. In 2012, this young turkey vulture was part of a nest of turkey vultures in El Cerrito. It stumbled onto a woman's porch one night and collapsed. She wasn't sure what was wrong with it, and by the morning it had died. That bird, too, tested positive for brodifacoum, which is the active ingredient in decon. This was a nest of barn owls in Berkeley. Less than 200 feet away from these barn owls were bait boxes. You've all seen those silver and black boxes with little holes in them. The rats check in, they eat the poison, and they come back out. And then they kind of weave down the street, totally addled and disoriented, and they're really easy prey for barn owls or any other bird of prey that eats a rodent. Kit foxes are being poisoned, as Aaron mentioned, coyotes, mountain lions, bobcats. And then this is sort of my only super gory photo, but this is an necropsy photo of a hawk that had been poisoned, and essentially the animal just bleeds to death internally. An estimate Fish and Game has given us about the number of predatory animals killed each year in California is about 20,000. And then again, these are the types of predators: large cats, bobcats, mountain lions, the dog family, kit foxes, gray foxes, coyotes, the weasel family, the Pacific fisher, which is a very rare animal that lives up in Northern California. It's actually being poisoned by rat poison that's being used by pot farmers. Skunks. All of these are animals that eat mice and rats. So it's become an epidemic, and it's quite tragic. And then if they don't actually if the animal doesn't die outright, say it just ingests a little bit of a little piece of a poisoned rat or mouse, that poison can affect their behavior in other ways. So they may be extremely thirsty, they can pass poisons on to their pups or kittens, they can pass it on to the birds, to the embryos. And then we've seen a big increase in wildlife diseases. So bobcats are getting mange, which affects their survival and behavior. I had another hawk in Berkeley that was killed by a young cat, barely more than a kitten. And it was down on the ground, and the young cat was able to get it. And I thought, that's really odd. A hawk shouldn't be getting killed by a kitten. And so I also took that body to be tested, and sure enough, that one also came back that it had ingested some poison. So it affects their behavior. It makes them less able to survive in a healthy way. And then we don't even know all of the impacts yet that these products are having. So just a little bit of the legal history. In May of 2008, after a 10-year study, the EPA had declared that these products pose an unreasonable risk to wildlife and the environment. Finally, in January 13, they proposed canceling registration of 20 rodenticides and removing the second-generation anticoagulants from the shelves. Still allowing some of the first generation, which were the original products like warfarin. You've probably heard of that one. People actually take these things as blood thinners. And then there's a product called bromethylene, and they were going to still allow those in tamper-proof containers so little kids wouldn't get into them. But of course, the pest control industry was exempted. So all of the manufacturers complied with the EPA except Reckitt Benckiser. They're the maker of Decon. In March of this year, Reckitt Benckiser challenged the EPA's ruling, and they have the EPA essentially held captive in legal appeals. In March of this, or I'm sorry, that was last year. And then in March of this year, the California Department of Pesticide Regulation tried to ban Decon and, actually it was just Decon products from over-the-counter sales in hardware stores and supermarkets and all of those stores, so that consumers wouldn't be able just to kind of throw it out in their yards, which is what was happening a lot. But that Reckitt Benckiser again sued. So stay tuned, because there's a hearing next month, and I'm sure we'll hear a lot more about what happens with that. This is the animal that I mentioned a little bit earlier. It's a very rare member of the weasel family. It's being severely impacted by rat poison on large pot grows in Humboldt County. You can see the Decon packages. There's a researcher up there who's looking into the problems with the fishers and how they're affected by rat poison, and someone recently intentionally poisoned his dog using the product, the active ingredient that's in Decon. So the Humboldt County Sheriff now has a reward out, and they're trying to figure out who did it. But things are getting ugly up there. So this just tells a little more about us. We are trying to educate the public about the problem, which is why I'm here tonight, and asking people to stop using poison and to spread the word. So we have done this in many ways. We have a public information, a PSA campaign on BART, in BART stations and on some bus lines. Those have mostly been in the East Bay so far. We've had cartoons in newspapers. This was based on a guy that's, we're all volunteer, and so this was one of our volunteers up in the Sacramento area that this cartoon is based on, and it's kind of clever. It went viral on our Facebook page. Those are some of the shots from the bus and a BART station in Oakland. And so we've just tried to kind of use images of the raptors to really get people's attention, and because most people love looking at them. And we've also tried a series of posters, putting up posters where we know raptors are nesting, so that these kind of really get the message across in a fast way that people get. And then we had this poster on our Facebook page literally get, it went viral. We had over 500,000 views of this poster. So we had a volunteer make this for us, and again, it just kind of tells the story in a really quick and effective way. So we've also worked with 19 cities and 2 counties to pass resolutions, like I started off by describing, discouraging the sales of second-generation anticoagulants. And the secret to that success of those is there needs to be follow-up. So oftentimes the cities will pass a resolution and then nothing happens. So what we've been doing is working with cities to have them send out letters to businesses and stores, and sometimes they send out letters with the business license renewals, asking businesses and stores to stop selling and using these products. Most of the cities have been in the Bay Area, but there are a few in Southern California, and I don't know if these are in San Mateo County or not, but Brisbane, Foster City, and Belmont have all passed resolutions. We also have a video on YouTube called Raptor Blues that was made for us by a high school senior. It's a claymation video. I don't know if you know Wallace and Gromit, but he did an excellent job, and this video has actually been shown at city council meetings and has really gets people to understand in a way that other methods don't do always. And then we're just trying to keep the attention on the biggest manufacturers, and right now the biggest one is Decon. And we included this poster of a photo of Pete's Coffee and Tea because a 10% shareholder in Reckitt Benckiser now owns Pete's Coffee. So it's a bit of a tangential connection, but nonetheless there is a connection. We've had articles in the Chronicle and Audubon Magazine. We continue just to try to get as much media as we can. We do tabling. This is our latest campaign. We feel like this kind of speaks for itself. So people get an idea of exactly what's being killed. This is in the Pleasant Hill BART station. It just went up a couple days ago. And then this is a photo of a barn owl that a woman found in her front yard in Davis, positive for rat poison. These are just some of the impacts that I won't read through. But the other problem I wanted to mention is that rats develop resistance to these poisons. So we're actually creating a new problem by using these products. And then when you bait for rats, you're actually attracting rats because you're going to get more rats coming to the bait. Just a few suggestions for what you can do. Obviously, don't use poison. Help us spread the word. We've seen a lot of problems with people who feed birds. They love birds, and then there's a problem with dropped seed on the ground, and the rats come for that. So, either don't feed the birds and let them eat from natural foods in your yard, or make sure you clean up the seed. A lot of rats are attracted to chicken coops. And then, if you have a problem with rats in your home, there are things that you can do that are very effective, just, sealing up holes and entrances. If you have to use a trap, use a snap trap, the old-fashioned kind that just kind of kills instantly. There's also a product called the Raticator, which is a little electrocution chamber for rats and mice. Don't use glue traps. They're really inhumane, and they've actually been known to catch other animals like snakes, birds. We had an owl stuck in one, and it's just horrific what it does. Rats love Ivy. It's kind of a luxury hotel for them. They have everything they need there. They can hide, they get water, food. So take out Ivy if you've got a rat problem and you have Ivy. And then you can help support what we're doing. We're at www.raptorsarethesolution.org. And then just a few last words here. Our biggest challenge moving forward is probably these little bait boxes that I was describing before, where the rat checks in, gets poisoned, and then checks back out. It does not stay in the box. And a lot of poison companies and pest control companies are giving people misinformation and telling them, oh, they go in the box and they don't come out. They do come out. And then, like I said, there are little time bombs walking around waiting for something else to eat them. There's a new poison on the market called bromethalin. It's a nerve toxin. Essentially, it causes the animal's digestive tract to explode. This dog, Weimaraner, was killed by this new poison, bromethalin. So the message here is that poison is really never going to be the solution. There's always going to be some kind of side effect from using it. And again, that's our message. Let's let these animals do their job. And just some credits for the slides and photos, and that's it. And I'll answer questions if you have them. I don't know if San Mateo.
You need to speak into the microphone to be heard. So do council members have any questions for her? And then I'll open public comment. You can come and ask your questions or make your comments okay? Do the council members have any questions for Lisa?
I would just like to say thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I forgot to mention two things. There's a really great website called saferrodentcontrol.org. It's a broad coalition of groups that we work with that are trying to get out information about alternatives. We also have some alternatives on our website, Raptors Are the Solution. Marin County has an excellent IPM, a rat management program that uses no poison. So Google Marin County Rat Management Plan. It's actually linked to from our website. It's really good, and it gives all kinds of information about rats and how you can discourage them and what you can do without using poison. And that county has been using that program for the past, I think, 4 years without any poison at all. So, and it's a big county.
I just wanted to say thank you, Lisa. I knew that rat poison was bad, but I really didn't know all of the extra ramifications. And so
most people do not realize. Yeah.
And so thank you very much for really giving us an in-depth presentation.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
All right, public comment? Does anyone have questions or comments on this? Come up to the podium.
Leonard Warnell, Granada. Thanks for the presentation and thanks for pursuing this. I actually first became aware of this someplace I was working in the early 80s where I assume some maintenance staff had left a box of this stuff behind a desk in our office area, and I read the warnings on there without touching the box. And after you read the warnings, you don't even want to touch the box. This is nasty stuff, and I assume that was first generation back then.
It probably was, yeah.
So one of the things you didn't talk about is what's the risk to little kids who tend to put everything in their mouth that they see?
It's actually huge, and there are different estimates of how many kids are poisoned every year. It doesn't kill the kids, but it makes them very sick. So kids are turning up in emergency rooms, and the estimate in California is up to 10,000 children every year, and it tends to be more in kind of low-income, disadvantaged communities for whatever reason. Maybe they have more rodent problems. I don't know why that is the case, but a lot of kids are being poisoned, yeah.
The rat zappers that you mentioned, there's at least one brand at, I don't know what the name of the hardware store is anymore, what used to be Ocean Shore. I guess it's now an Ace Hardware affiliate in Half Moon Bay.
Hazel.
Yeah. And in response to a question that probably not a lot of people heard from the audience about what does the county do, someone who I was hoping would be here tonight, but I do not see her, used to be the lab manager at the Sewer Authority, and she would probably be interested in your cause. She pointed out to me many years ago the stretch of what's the creek that goes by Clipper Ridge? Why am I not thinking of the name right now? Denniston Creek. So Denniston Creek goes behind Mezzaluna, crosses under Prospect, and then there's the giant rip-wrapped area with the large boulders where it goes that last couple hundred feet into the harbor. And the county had many, many rat poison things there that just infuriated her because of the raptors.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the county needs to get on board with this also.
Yeah, I agree. And it's sad that we're poisoning the solution to the problem. I wanted to mention one other thing, which is that we just found out from California Fish and Game that there's been a 90% decrease in the success of nesting raptors this year, which is huge. And of course, we don't know all the causes yet. We don't have their data. But I can almost guarantee that rat poison is a factor in that. And that's an incredible loss.
Yeah. For those who are interested, one nice place at the right time of year to watch the raptors is actually the Burnham Strip right out here.
Oh, great.
Does anyone else in the audience have questions for Lisa or comments you'd like to make?
Just a quick question, I don't use it. 90% across all
90% in Southern California.
in Southern California?
Yeah. And they're asking us here to watch for trends up here because they're really concerned that it might be a statewide issue.
Is there a statistic for Santa Fe County?
No, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think they've seen that problem up here yet, but it's worrisome that it's happening down there.
Did you want to?
My question was, does the county have a rat abatement program in the department or anything like that? Somebody knows? There's rats in our neighborhood, and I don't.
Actually, I was going to bring that up when I had a chance. Maybe I was going to suggest some action here, and I was going to mention that.
Nicholas?
Me?
Yeah, okay. Perhaps you got something to add on that? I don't know.
County
As a county rep.
County has a vector control, and they do rats too.
Yeah, and we do not have.
Nicholas?
Follow the rules, Nicholas.
I know. It's been a while since I've had to come up to the podium. So we at the county do not have a ban or moratorium on rodenticide. My understanding is that we are extremely careful in how we use it. I am trying to figure out what our use is out here on the coast side for rodenticide, and
I will be working with our environmental health department to get some responses on this and to provide the MCC with some additional information on how rodenticide is used out here in San Mateo County. Until then, I won't be able to give any specifics.
Do you know what mosquito abatement district uses? Would it be primary?
As far as products or,
Well, do they use rodenticides or?
I do not know.
Let me answer some of that, okay?
I'd be happy to let you answer some of that.
Okay. Anybody else from the audience? Okay, I'll close the public comment.
I'm going to have Lisa add one last quick thing.
Sorry, Aaron specifically asked me to mention this, and I totally forgot. When I found the dead bodies in my neighborhood, I took them to Wild Care in San Rafael, which is a wildlife rehabilitation facility. Wild Care has been testing all of the animals that come into their facility, and they're finding that over 76% of all of the animals that they've tested have come back positive for rat poison. So it's infiltrating the entire ecosystem, and as I mentioned, if it's not killing the animals outright, it's definitely affecting their behavior and their survival.
Thank you.
Can I add one quick
Sure.
question? So a lot of folks put out, bird feed.
Right.
Is there any
It's-
effect of bird feed with the raptors or any, that, throws them off or?
Well,
much-
not raptors. I mean, they're not really seed eaters. They eat flesh, so that's, again, I'm saying they're very efficient killing machines. They're designed to kill rodents, and some get small birds too. But they will not eat seed. But the seed encourages rats. So you kind of have to think twice whether you want to continue, feeding seed, or if you are, make sure you are really clean and clean it up, because, it's attracting rats more than raptors, the seed anyway.
So I had some thoughts on this. I put some links on our website related to this, several from your website. And there's a link there to the county's vector control on rodents, and which all sounds very reasonable in using, talks about basically you've got to modify the environment. You'll never get rid of the rats. But they do finally get to it towards the end about rodenticides. And so my thought was that at a future meeting, if the council would like, I could draft a letter or whatever way to communicate to suggest that this, for example, the website be updated to add this information about secondary, because there's no mention of that there. And I love the posters and the way you're getting the word out to the public. That seems like would really, I know the first time I heard about this, I wanted to put up an owl box or something, and it said right there, it said, make sure nobody around there is using poisons. And I thought, oh my, I don't want to, so I never did put the box up. But basically, the bird seed and look around your yard and deal with that. But anyway, so I thought some action we might take would be to communicate with the county. I had looked at that website. Maybe there's more we can do, but I just wanted to tell you one anecdote about the county's vector control. This was a year or two ago. They had, I guess, recently incorporated in, they were doing mosquitoes, and then they were going to do rodents too. And so this person came from the county to my community. We lived there next to Pillar Point Bluff, and wanted to know if she could, if we had any rat problem, if she could leave these bait traps out. We have a creek that runs along behind the community and into the wetlands, and wildlife on the bluff, and all that wildlife comes down to drink from the creek. And she thought, and plus on the bluff, there's the native dusky-footed wood rat. The big stick nests that they make. And they live up there, and they probably come down. Anyways, I said, no, I don't think we want any of your bait traps. But I don't know if they're still doing that, or if she got any takers. Did you have something to add, Nicholas?
First, I apologize. I'd like to thank you also for coming out.
You're welcome.
Sorry, I was so focused on how I was going to answer the questions, I forgot to thank you the first time I was up here. Secondly, if you guys are interested in, if you as a body are interested in taking action, either at the next meeting or a meeting after that, would I be able to propose having either a representative from the County Environmental Health Department or the vector control to come and participate or provide you guys with a little bit of information on what we as a county do and if we use it, how we use it, because I think that would probably provide you guys with some important necessary information when developing comments or an action. So if I could propose that, I'd be happy to arrange that.
We got two people for sure that are into this, everybody else, yeah, I think that,
That would be a great
we would
follow-up.
like to
Very nice.
have a follow-up agenda item, and
Great.
we could talk about who best could come or whatever, but,
Absolutely.
because it would seem, I don't know if at this point in time, to do a resolution, that sort of sounds like you say, it just sort of sits on the shelf. We need to get the word out, and also if there's something, even the vector control website could use some improvement. And so if they were to come, we could discuss that. It'd be better than just writing a letter to them or something.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that would be great, thanks.
The other thing I was going to suggest, just real quick, and I asked Lisa about that, is perhaps we could have somebody, if they were willing to, from Marin come, since she had said that they have a very successful program in Marin County where they're not using any poisons. So maybe a dialogue of sorts would be
Absolutely.
a good idea.
Absolutely, and what I can tell you is we as a county, we like to communicate with other counties when looking at situations like this. I know when the county put a moratorium on roadside spraying, we had a lot of conversations with Marin and Santa Cruz, who both had successful programs at the time. So, if you can get someone from Marin here, I know we'd be happy to learn from them and get some input from them.
Great.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you again for
Oh,
coming.
you're welcome. Thanks.
Anything else on this item? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Erin, for sponsoring this, and for Lisa for coming out. You're welcome. Are the county people here?
Yeah, hey.
All right. So Nicholas will need his chair back, I guess. So we're now moving on to agenda item 4B, which is, I know, I need to plug in. Montero Coast 7th Street fence. And I just had a couple of introductory slides to introduce this. How about slideshow? So this is the view of the end of 7th Street in Montero. Another view, and what is it, October 2012, the MCC asked if this fence that closes off the end of 7th Street and the hedge next to it could be removed. And so Nicholas now is going to give us a report on, are you?
Yeah, I am.
All right. Do you have any slides, or should I leave that up?
No, you can leave that up.
All right.
I'm not a big PowerPoint person. So, an update on what's going on. For those of you who do not have the background on this matter, there's been a fence on 7th Street that, based on our information, goes back to the 70s, and there was a recent request about a year ago, maybe a little bit more, to have that fence removed as it was blocking public views and public access to the bluff. And so there have been many meetings, many conversations on this matter. And so where we're at today is that the county and the property owner, Supervisor Horsley, has instructed county council and the Department of Public Works to have the fence removed. So let me take that back, actually. Let me go back a step. The fence is built on the road right-of-way, which is a public asset. And in order to construct or put anything on it, or park anything on it, or build anything on it, you need an encroachment permit. And so, so this fence was given an encroachment permit back in the 70s. And Supervisor Horsley, after having several meetings, with the MCC and other individuals, has instructed County Council and Public Works to have the fence removed. And so the fence will be, the county and the homeowner are currently in conversations about how do we best remove that fence to open up public views at the end of 7th Street. Once that fence is removed, the county will construct a guardrail and have some bollards there, which will provide a measure of safety for cars. So the last thing we want are cars, bike riders, people unknowingly endangering themselves by going off that cliff. So that's what the guardrail is for. And then we're also in conversations with the homeowner to determine how do we, without taking away any public entity, or I'm sorry, any public asset or public views, how do we somehow allow them to have some type of, or some level of privacy. If you remove that fence, then you are essentially in this residence's backyard. You're on the side of their house. You can see through all their windows. And so what we're trying to work with them right now to do is to remove that fence, but to still allow some level of privacy, once again, without taking any public views or any public assets away. And so that's where we're at right now. We are having constant contact and communication with them, but the decision at the end of the day is that that fence will be removed and that that bluff will be open to the public, and we will keep you guys up to date as to kind of what's going on. But for a long time, people have asked to have that fence removed, have it open to the public, and that's what will be going on. Supervisor Horsley has given that directive to the Director of Public Works, and so we're moving forward on that right now.
You were going to have information on the guardrails and, I guess I can picture those, but my question is, you see the hedge on the left?
Mhm.
Here's a better picture of it.
Right.
So there's a gorgeous view there too, and
Right.
so, and the hedge is entwined with rusty barbed wire. Will that be removed?
We are going to remove part of it. It is unclear at this point if we will be removing all of it. At a certain point behind, my understanding is that at a certain point behind the hedge is a drop-off. And so we are trying to open up public views and public assets without creating a public safety hazard. Because at the end of the day, ocean views are extremely important, but public safety is probably more important. I would say is more important. So we're not trying to create a situation where people are going to endanger themselves. And so, so we're looking at how do we remove part of or all of that without creating a public safety.
Are you taking feedback back tonight?
Well, of course.
Well, the hedge consists of two plants.
Mhm.
One, I think, was planted, and the other has grown by seed. And the volunteer is Pittosporum, and it is very invasive. It's planted in gardens and spread by seed, and it's the exact shrub that has been slated for removal in the in San Vicente Creek and the FMR restoration. They were going to get that out of there. Well, this is the same villain. And the other one, obviously, is just as invasive, can live fine on its own on the coastal cliff. And those two shrubs would like to be 20 feet tall. So it's the wrong plant. My suggestion is, I mean, obviously, they are planted right on the edge, and you don't want to disturb the soil. My suggestion would be to just cut them, just paint the stubs with a little herbicide to kill them. Then the roots are still in the ground. And then at that point, plant something appropriate and low growing there that will hold the soil. And then And then my other question is,
Wait, let me write that one down first.
all right, this is the most important one, because the hedge blocks just as much view as the fence does.
Okay.
Because the best view is actually to the south there, so, I'm gonna show you that direction. Okay, so then there, behind the fence, there's this cypress tree, which has been pruned over the years as a bush. And once the fence is gone, the side that is facing the fence and will be in the view from 7th Street is all bare and dead.
Okay.
So the question is, so what will happen to this tree slash bush? It will probably, if not kept pruned, it will probably try and become a tree. Once again, not wanting to disturb the soil the roots are holding. Perhaps it could be, and this I'm asking for DPW to do this, but somebody with some knowledge could prune that thing out and make something attractive out of it, I think. And so you could sort of see through it and, you know, I'm not
Lisa,
me.
you have this knowledge, don't
Not
you?
me, but I know that, you know, but I'm just saying, I thought we were gonna get more detail tonight.
Yeah,
But do you have an estimate on when they will actually do the job?
I do not. I do not. We're working on, the project is gonna need to get specific permits from both the county and the coastal commission, and so we're working on that. Right now, as some of you may know, there's a proposal for an add-on to that house, and so because the coastal commission has been involved, we are working with them. Because the coastal commission is involved in that other project, we're working with them on this one as well to make sure that, you know, there are no other unforeseen issues here.
I thought the coastal commission really wanted the county to get that fence out of there.
Well, and the county is getting the fence out of there, but,
So I would interpret that to mean the coastal commission is not gonna impede this progress.
you know, I can only pass on the information I've been given from the county, the people that I've spoken with. So, you know, I understand. I myself thought we were gonna have Public Works and County Council out here giving you this information themselves. It's obviously.
Yeah, we had them scheduled, and then we had to reschedule the rat thing because of that, and then they didn't come anyway. And so, I guess, I don't wanna complain about that, I just wondered if you had a date, and if you don't have a date, could you really, each time we have a meeting, could you give us an update, because, I just thought we were coming down to the line here. And it would be like, okay, June, it's gonna happen in June, but,
Yeah, and I'll provide updates at the meetings as we go forward. And I do apologize for County Council and Public Works not being here. Once again, we had fully anticipated that they would be here. As you can see, that is not the case. And this was a last-minute adjustment. And so I apologize for that, but I will provide updates. And I do just want to, make sure that the focus is on, and I understand everyone would like to see this done tomorrow or yesterday. And we are working on it, and we are making progress on it. And I think the important thing is that this is going to get done. You know, for a long time, the fight was, well, is this going to get done or not?
Right.
And the directive has been given, as was desired by the people who were attending the MCC meetings and from the discussions that we had, that Supervisor had with everyone. You know, the desire was that they want to see this done, and the directive has been given by Supervisor Horsley to have this done. And so I know it's not going to get done as quickly as people would like to see, but you know, it is going to get done. And so, you know, at least I hope everyone can at least be happy for now with the fact that we're not having that argument as to is it going to get done or is it not going to get done. We're at the point where we know it's going to get done, and Supervisor Horsley is going to make sure that it gets done, and we just got to find out
Okay.
when we can do it.
so then, the main piece I wanted for you to take back is about this hedge. I
Right.
really think it needs to go.
Understood.
I understand a bit about safety, but that's not what we need for safety. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
Okay.
Understood. I will make that clear, but once again, I know that, you know, the people at the county, our focus is on safety, because we are responsible for the safety of the people here. That's our priority, and so,
Yeah. But I mean, something you could see through would be better than this hedge.
It doesn't look like anyone's gonna fall through that hedge, though.
No.
But
something
I
you
understand
can
what you're
see
saying.
through. I mean,
I understand what you're
we
saying.
went over this with Devil's Slide Trail and how people, you know, they don't fence off the Grand Canyon. You like to look, and so the whole point of this is to be able to see what's on the other side of that hedge.
Understood.
Right.
So Lisa, I have a couple of questions.
Go for it.
So Nicholas?
Yes.
You're probably aware 7th Street there is one of the streets that's supposed to have the, I forgot the technical name for it, the drainage ditch redone in a more natural form. And there's been an erosion problem. That was one of the reasons the county was for a long time reluctant to take this back over, because the property owner was responsible for the erosion. I assume that's all being addressed as part of this, but if you can get us the details on that. And obviously, since the drainage ditch was postponed at least a year because it was supposed to happen last year, it would be good if the two chunks of work could be coordinated so they don't have to be done twice.
Absolutely, and,
I have some info on that.
oh, go for it.
The drainage that caused the erosion has been dealt with. There are pipes that go down the bluff now. What they're going to put in is, it relates to the pollution reduction, and it's the grassy swale, and they already have
Grassy
one
swale.
on the other side of the street.
Yeah.
And they did say they're going to be adding some more stuff in the second phase, but that would be,
Yeah, they actually haven't done the other side of the street yet. I was
well, it
just there.
is, it's grass. You look at it, it's,
I know, but
that's
it's not,
That's what they do.
there's an illegal driveway there too that we're also gonna take out when they worked on it. So they didn't do that work anywhere in Montero. They were supposed to do it last year, they didn't do it. So I'm not sure why they didn't do it, but it would be good if it was coordinated. And there is still an erosion problem there. I've hiked up to from the bottom, so.
I'll ask about that. The other thing I do know that's going on is, people have referenced the coastal, I think it's called the coastal walk,
Marine walk.
the marine walk, which is at this point an extremely narrow, informal. No.
We're not going there.
We're not.
If we're not
Tell us what
okay.
you were gonna bring up.
No. If we're not going there, then I'm not gonna say anything. I mean, I know.
Yeah, you better.
In that case, I wasn't gonna say anything, but I have a feeling we have a question or a comment. What do we got?
First,
I'm not the chair. I'm not.
can the
I'm not
camera
allowed
see
to call
the
any
steam
questions.
coming out of my ears?
I can. That's why.
Okay,
I have
the
a feeling.
fire I'm breathing right
Mhm.
now. Okay, so where to start? Can you tell me the difference between removing the fence on I'm sorry, my name is Karen Wilson. I did a petition online. If you go to change.org, you'll see a petition that says Montero Views. I have nearly 400 signatures, and I would really encourage you to share it with all of your friends and continue to sign this petition. These delays have been obscene. I'd like to understand why you were able to remove the fence that I asked for on Seacliff Court so easily and not this one. And I will, before you answer, I will clearly tell you, and I know that the county knows this, the Coastal Commission has decided to take no action on that fence. The Coastal Commission is taking no action on that fence in relationship to that development permit. We know that is a finite decision that was made over a year ago. And that's why we're moving forward with just the revocation of the use permit and removing the fence. So what would be the difference between Seacliff happening within a matter of weeks and this fence taking months and months? And we're not even close to meeting the agenda item tonight.
I don't have.
So 6th Street did not have, Seacliff did not have an
So-
encroachment permit.
Yeah, so those are two very different circumstances. I know you're aware of those the differences in the situation, because we've had that conversation a lot in the past. The fence that was on Seacliff, no one took ownership of that fence. We asked people, we talked to people, no one knew who built it, no one knew who maintained it, no one claimed it, no one stepped up and said it was theirs, and therefore, it's an encroachment on the county right-of-way, and therefore we are able to remove it. The situation on 7th Street, the county had issued an encroachment permit for this. This was constructed and maintained by the adjacent homeowner, and under those circumstances, it was a completely different situation.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. I am a little steamed.
About 3 or 4 months ago, the fence was falling over. It would be gone today. However, the owners of 101 7th Street shoved a 2x4 into the very southern edge of the fence to re-support it. And it is already chipping away a huge chunk of the cliffside. I've reported it, I've asked that it be removed. It's damaging, physically damaging the cliff as we talk. With every rain, it's right at the edge of that culvert. Nothing's happened. Sorry. So basically, they have not even issued the revocation of the use permit for the fence, or the encroachment permit. That hasn't even begun. To remove that encroachment permit. That process hasn't even started. It sounds like you're discussing it with the neighbors versus just removing it.
So we have informed the homeowner at 101 7th that we will be revoking, or we already have revoked. Here's the issue, as you know.
Have revoked or are revoking?
And here's the issue. As you know, we have files indicating that an encroachment permit was issued. However, no one can locate the actual encroachment permit itself. And so that's adding a unique challenge to the situation.
We've known that for over 10 years.
Right. So we are working to revoke that encroachment permit. However, I do want to make it clear that if that encroachment permit hasn't been revoked, it will be in the near future, and that fence will be coming down. Now, I can't provide you with a timeline, and I can't tell you what the new bluff end is going to look like, because I don't have those details. But what I can stress is that that encroachment permit, if it has not already been revoked, will be being revoked, and that fence will be removed. I mean,
What kind of time frame are we talking about? This has been years. And right now, if the longer that fence stands there, it is shearing off a piece of the cliff from the 2x4 that was just installed.
Right, and I'll bring that back, but it's important to be clear. What you say as it's been years since you've asked for this. It has only been a couple months, maybe 2-3 months since maybe a little bit longer, since the decision has been made that we will remove that fence. So it hasn't been years, it's only been a couple months. So I think that's important to
Actually,
be
there goes
clear
a
about.
history back to asking for that fence to be removed, goes all the way back to when I served on the Midcoast Community Council.
Right, and like I said just now, it's been several years since you've been asking for it, but it's only been a couple months since the decision has been made that yes, we will have that fence removed. So it hasn't been a couple years, a couple months.
All right, I don't want to go over the whole history. I think that Nicholas is the messenger here.
Yeah.
And he's told us as much as he knows.
Well, can I just ask for
And,
one more thing?
Okay.
Can you please, by the next meeting, clarify that there is no Coastal Commission permission here needed? It's already been, or permit needed. There is no Coastal Commission permit.
So, and as people in the audience may know, may be able to tell, Karen and I go back years and years. So we do this all the time.
I'm extremely disappointed.
I know you are, and I understand that. What I'm being told by County Council is that, and I'm reading this off of an email, which is, we are working out, and we will need to get approval from the Coastal Commission for this matter. And I don't that's all I can tell you. I don't have the details. I'm not County Council. I'm not Public Works. I'm not the Coastal Commission. I can only pass along the message that I was given.
Okay, this is a huge step backwards then. Right
I
now. All right.
I know, but
I know, you know I'll be calling.
I know you'll be, but like I said, I would disagree. I mean, the final decision has been made to have that fence removed, which is a different conversation than what we had last time you and I talked about this, right?
No way, we'd never get that.
And didn't we get there? So I'd say that's a big step forward.
It's exciting.
It
I can tell your excitement. I mean, I'm feeling it.
is. Some of us are very appreciative that Don
Thank you,
pushed
Dave.
this through.
Last June, when they took down the fence at Seacliff,
Mhm.
it was, I think I mentioned to you, it's one
Mhm.
concrete thing we've accomplished here.
Mhm.
And here's another fence that will happen. Okay, so we have Sabrina Brennan.
I'm going to be really brief. Thanks for the opportunity to speak tonight. It sounds like we've talked about this issue on all sides. I just wanted to mention really quickly that in the neighborhood I live in Seal Cove, we're on a bluff. It's a sheer drop down to the ocean. Some might consider that dangerous and a public safety issue, but I don't think that the county would want to put up fencing along, say, for example, the Pillar Point Bluff Trail to prevent people from falling off that cliff, because there'd be so much fencing involved. It'd be quite expensive, plus you'd have to move it back as the bluff erodes. And in the neighborhood, we have plenty of places where, you know, we have amazing views. We're so fortunate. But if, you know, a person decided to walk off the edge of the bluff, you know, they could certainly die or be injured. And that's, you know, one of the risks you take on the coast side. So I think everybody that lives, you know, on the edge is familiar with that risk. However, at the Fitzgerald Marine Reserve, there is some nice fencing that the county has put in, which is that wood, you know, the fencing I'm talking about. And I don't know if I missed that already, but maybe that similar style of fence that the county does at the Marine Reserve might be the right solution, because you can still see through it. It's low enough, doesn't block views, and it's attractive looking. So just wanted to throw that out. Thanks.
Absolutely, and thank you for bringing that up and making that comparison to the fence at FMR, because I agree. I think that is that could be an option, and I'll definitely bring that back. But you know, it's residents out here and county government may have two different perspectives on kind of public safety, and at the end of the day, we're responsible for everyone's public safety, and we take it very serious. Especially Supervisor Horsley, coming from his background in law enforcement, he takes public safety extremely serious. So.
Oh, sorry. Leonard.
Leonard Warren, Granada. This is really great news, and I'm really happy to hear this. Yeah, I can understand Karen's frustration about how long it's taken. As part of this, you need to get the word over to whoever issues encroachment permits and tell them that they are not to issue any new encroachment permits in public rights-of-way on the coast side, period. And, you know, not just on the ocean edge, but nowhere on the coast side should there be encroachment permits issued for public rights-of-way. Gotta read my own writing here. As far as the property owner on this one, Karen mentioned that they put in a post. Maybe the county can send them a letter that says, since the fence is coming out, cease and desist maintaining it. Because you know what we just heard from Karen is that's making it worse. As far as, you know, safety, I think that the coast side is in many ways different from the whole rest of the county, and I don't think I'm too far out of line saying that a lot more people on the coast side than percentage in the rest of the county take responsibility for their own safety. You look at the stub of Murata Road opposite Coronado and Murata Surf Bluffs, there's signs there that say, you know, go past this sign, you might fall in the ocean and get killed. You know, them's the breaks, okay? If you ignore the sign, there's no fence there, and the county wouldn't dare put up a fence there, because the locals will just rip it down. Which leads me to my last thing. When is that mound of dirt getting taken out?
Am I allowed to comment on the mound of dirt? It's not.
What mound of dirt?
Leonard,
they put up a view blocking mound of dirt at the foot of Coronado.
The mound of dirt there, I will address it quickly. The mound of dirt there was put because people were parking there, and
there's other ways to fix that.
And that was the county's solution for an issue that was equally blocking views, and that was creating public safety hazards because cars would then unexpectedly pull out of that parking, out of where they were parked, and create a hazard for people riding bikes, create a hazard for people traveling on the highway. You know, you've in the past, I've heard you talk about people parking on shoulders and how it's an issue at Surfers Beach. That's what people were doing there. People were parking there to access the beach, and so we felt it was important to address that because it was a hazard, and those cars were blocking views much more than this mound of dirt.
Non-responsive to the question. Put in a couple bollards, get rid of the pile of dirt. Okay?
I
There's
can
other
pass that message
solutions.
along.
You have identified a problem. I'm not disagreeing with your identification of the problem. Find a different solution and make the pile of dirt go away.
I will pass that along.
Thank you.
Anybody else on this item? Len?
Len Harrison from El Granada. Thank you for the news, Nicholas. As a frequent user of 7th Street, I'd like to point out to you that over the past week, I've been there on 2 different occasions where the gate was closed. For the months and months before, the owner was doing a very good job of keeping it open during the day. I don't know whether this is related to the suit, but since, as you know, it may be weeks or it may be months before that's actually removed, if you would have them continue to keep the gate open.
I will have county council contact their representative.
Anybody else? Okay.
I just need to apologize for being so mean to you.
Karen, I don't take any of it. I don't take any of it. I don't take any of it personal. As I said, you know, you and I go back. You and I go far back. I don't take any of it personal. I hope you know.
And I do thank you.
Anytime.
Okay, so I'll close the public hearing, and if the council members have anything else to say? Okay, this was an informational item, so Dan, did you have something?
Yeah, just really quick. So here in El Granada, we also have, you know, many views that we cherish preciously. And I know many other members of the community are concerned about losing more. So I want to specifically talk about the unnecessary planted trees along the RV lot and around the beach house.
This is not on this agenda.
That is, well,
This
they're
is-
growing
this is-
more and more each year. So where does the count, where would,
I,
these are, we're talking about blocking views. I know it's a
No, it's
fence,
about
but
7th Street. It's about the removal of 7th Street fence.
Okay, we'll bring it up in
The
another-
trees at the
another
RV
agenda.
park are in the city of Half Moon Bay, so Nicholas wouldn't have anything to do with that. That would be, that's a
Another
separate
agenda
agenda.
item. Got it.
Yes, okay. Okay, so we're moving on now to the next agenda.
I need to apologize, I'm going to take off because I have to get Lisa, our guest speaker, back to the BART station, so.
Thanks, Erin.
Yeah,
Thank you, Erin.
absolutely.
Thank you again, Lisa.
Thanks, Lisa.
So the next item on our agenda is Moss Beach Skate Park, and this is sponsored by Dave Olson. I'll turn it over to you.
All right, well, I'm sure as everybody is aware, the skate park is no more, but we're still going to discuss it, and I believe one of the representatives of CSEA is here as well. For those, I'm sure everybody knows where this is, but just to set the stage, this is the property that's the old Army base, the uphill section of the old Army base on the border of Montera and Moss Beach. Moss Beach Heights is the subdivision up above it. It's been treated as open space for many years, even though it's private property. Recently, there have been some significant issues of dumping. There have been for many years, but they've been accelerated. There have been vehicles on the property that have been driving, shall we say, inappropriately and endangering people that are walking. So that sort of came to a head, what, a month and a half ago, Nicholas? And
About that.
Don Horsley, our supervisor, got involved and worked to try and resolve some of the most immediate issues, some of the safety issues, and contact the property owner. And the property owner is, as a result of being concerned about liability, is now proposing to fence off the property and was proposing to demolish the skate park. And as we know, that's more or less happened. The skate park was an ad hoc thing built by skateboarders. It's not a planned facility of any kind. So with that, that's sort of setting the stage for everything. I don't have a lot to actually say. What I wanted to do was give the community to a chance to air their opinions and hear all sides on this, hear proposals about what, if anything, we can do with it. My own personal hope, having hiked that property a number of times, is that some way can be found to keep access to the property and perhaps find a way to keep the property clean and safe without significant liability to the property owner. But I do not have any answers. I just have opinions about what I would like. So with that, I think we should open it to public comment unless somebody on the council has questions to begin with.
Questions, a few comments. So, yeah, well, I guess tonight I'll learn, I'm sure, just learned about it the last week, and I understand that, there were, I'd like to learn tonight how many locals, used it. I understand some people from out there might have been using it. But clearly, this demonstrates a need for recreation facilities in the coast side. It's sad to me that the issues were not addressed early on, and that they're that it seems like the kids lose out on this one. I understand that the California School Employees Union need to protect their interests, but it's ironic that the School Employees Union, are kind of hurting the kids in this particular sense. But it's a complex issue, and I'm interested in learning more.
And that does remind me, that was one of the other desired discussions I had heard from various people was, is there someplace else that we can have a skate park that is legal? There have been various proposed points where that might happen, but I'm going to let the community members speak to that. So Lisa, you have the slips. Do you want to call them off, or you want me to do it?
Did you say the representative was here from the property?
Yes.
Would you like to speak?
Sure.
Sure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for the invite.
How you doing, Ron?
So, thank you for the invite to this session.
Your name?
Roy Ramos. I'm Facilities Director for the California School Employees Association. Been there for 14 years. Kind of managed this property for the last 14 years. Kind of seen the skate park develop slowly, but you know what? Didn't put no pressure on getting that thing out of there. But it was just recently, I guess, within the last couple of months, a lot of pressure has come down, a lot of emails, a lot of photos going in, and once that got to the board, that didn't bode too well. The number one thing that the board was mainly concerned about was the liability factor. And with that being said, we met with the attorneys, we met with our insurance broker, and an action plan had to be put in place immediately in order for us to keep getting insurance. And those action plans consisted of taking out the park, putting a fence around the property to alleviate the cars going in there and four-wheeling and what have you, putting up adequate signage to inform everyone that it is private property and there's no trespassing, and then finally to put a security on the premise. And that's what we've been instructed to do. It's out of my hands, something that the board has indicated that we must move on. So first phase was to take out the park, the skate park. The next phase is to work with the fencing company, and then we'll move on from there with the signage and the security of the property.
Will you, are you flexible on where this fence goes? I mean, does it have to be at the absolute perimeter, or can it be set in ways?
Our attorney said they don't want any access on the property because of liability. That's what has been put to. So that I'm working with the folks with our design of where the fence is going to go so that no vehicles can go on the property. I worked with the water department and talked to them and provided them with what our plans are and told them that we give them keys so they can access and do the maintenance on the water towers, and they were in agreement with it, so that's where we're at.
Did the supervisor ask if this could be set back in a little ways so that it wouldn't
I
be
showed
so
him where we were going to
visually
set
intrusive?
back, yeah, and he said he was okay with it.
Pardon?
I did show him where we're going to put it.
So it is set back a bit?
It's set back.
Oh, okay.
Roy, is it, so I think, so one of the things I'd spoken with our attorneys is about, there's that dirt area, next to Lincoln that cars use, that like
Right.
garbage trucks use, delivery
Right.
trucks. Will the fence be on the other side of that so delivery trucks and garbage trucks can still use that?
No, it will be blocking off the entrance to both of those. So garbage trucks can, UPS, those folks cannot use it. It is private property, and that's what we have to do.
Does anybody have questions for him while he's there at the mic?
Maybe in terms of help fund for like replacement?
No.
All the materials that are on site as we speak, where will all those materials, the tires, the other rubble, the trash, everything that's there, where is that going to be placed?
We contracted with Penhall. They're going to take that and take it to the recycle.
So the tires are going to be recycled?
The tires are going to be
Everything else is
recycled,
going to
the concrete will be recycled, correct. The concrete that has red bricks cannot be recycled, so they're going to deal with that in a different fashion.
Lisa.
Oh, that's a good idea. Could you come and sit over here, and then the people with the questions can come, and
Did
that
I
way
look
that...
tired?
No, this
We
way...
appreciate your showing up.
No,
at
you're just
all.
gonna be here for a little while.
Yeah,
It's easier when you're
better
sitting.
use of microphones.
No problem.
So if you have questions for
Thank you.
Mr. Ramos, come up to the podium, please.
Can I ask a quick question?
Or if you just have comments. Yes, go ahead.
Roy, I'm Joel.
Yeah, Joe.
Will you be the point of contact? There'll be a lot of questions this evening. I'm sure questions moving forward. Are you open to fielding questions or input from the locals? Or is
Yes.
there someone designated
No, you
to handle
can
that?
send them to me. Just realized though, I manage 10 properties through the state of California.
Right.
So I'm constantly on the go, and so I'm dealing with a lot of issues. So I may not get back to you right away, but I will eventually get back to you.
And then will we be able to supply that information, the contact information to, are you interested in giving it to the public? How will they get in touch with you?
No, they can get, I'll give you my card and do my email.
Okay.
Okay.
Can we put that
So-
on the website?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Roy, we appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
Sure. I may not satisfy everyone's response, but nevertheless, I will try to get back to everyone.
My name is Dan Blick. I live in Moss Beach. My son and his friends spent a lot of time at the Airsats skate park on Carlos Street. I just had a question for you right off. Is there a long-term plan for the property? Is it,
I've been with this association now for 14 years, and we still don't have a plan in place for that property.
okay.
So it's ongoing. I guess at some point, it's not the core of their business to do any development, so I'm sure they'll want to offload it.
Okay. Lisa, I have a comment card, so
Yes, I have you here.
shall I just roll right into the
Roll
the
right in,
comment?
yes.
First, Mr. Ramos, I wanted to thank you and the State Employees Association for the time that my son and his friends and the skateboarders have had at that property. And that, I'm not sure if it was allowed or just tolerated, but the construction of the concrete forms and everything that made the skateboarding so good. I'm just grateful that that was able to exist and get added to and grow over time. So, bottom line, I don't think you're the bad guy here. I think that whoever was four-wheeling and dumping on the property, it sounds like that was maybe more of an issue than the boys skateboarding, although there's always the liability concerns.
Extremely, that was the main concern. And may I add, the skate park was done very nice. Very nice, I have to say. I give a kudos to the people that developed it, because they put the smooth curves and everything. I was very impressed. I was sad to see it go down, but unfortunately, I had to take action.
And as a parent, I was concerned about, okay, do we know the property owner? And, so, I like to know about where my boy and his friends are playing. I do have to say that, and I'm sure the boys will speak well for themselves, it's been just a center of great fun and learning and skill development, not just skateboarding, but my son is an avid videographer and photographer with his GoPro, and does great videos of his friends skateboarding. So there's a lot of development going on besides just recreation.
That's great.
It's really important for this community. I fervently hope that either that property or another property, who knows, but I hope that something can be developed and be created to replace it, because it really has been a treasure and very much appreciated.
I understand.
Thank you.
Thank you.
David Birch? If I got that right? David Blick. Sorry.
Yeah, so skate park, it was close to home and my friends skateboarded and they asked me if I wanted to come with them one day and I said yeah, and I brought a camera and from then on I've just been taking pictures of them and filming them skating there and made lots of videos, had a ton of fun, been going there for about a year. I've helped build part of it. It's just been a big part of the last year for me. And just having it taken out, it's kind of, now we have to go all the way to Pacifica or all the way to or into town to go to a skate park unless we want to skate places like private property, which we don't tend to do a lot, and so we kind of need a place close by that we can skate.
I understand.
Ronnie Beck?
Yeah, so we've been going there a lot, and it's like we've progressed a whole lot since we've started going there, and it's a lot of memories and everything. I've made friends there. I've made, like I said, a lot of memories and progressed a lot in skateboarding. It's sad to see it go, and we'd really like to have like somewhere close by that we could skate. Somewhere that's like, doesn't have to be super big, just somewhere maybe the same size, a little bit bigger, that we could skate and, you know, still have fun there. It's like, you know, summer skate.
Yeah, no, I understand. You need an outlet, and all kids do.
Because it keeps us active and,
Very
you know,
much
gives
so.
us something to do besides just sit home.
No, I agree. I'm totally supportive of it. Unfortunately, this is a private property, and it's not
Yeah.
one that can be used in that aspect, so.
Yeah, part of these comments about, you know, your love of the skate park and your need for one is, it's the next conversation. Where can we do this elsewhere, and brainstorming on that. So we're hearing that too. Valerie Dubois? Pardon?
Do you want to let other people go first?
Oh, I'm just going through my list here. Did you want somebody to go?
All right. So my name is Valerie Dubois. I'm a resident up in Moss Beach Heights. And I understand the predicament you're in. And while I'm so sad to see the skate park go, I also understand liability-wise what that can do. What I guess I have an ask for the council and for, you know, Don Horsley in the office is, how can we work together on a next step? Building a new skate park somewhere. There is open space, other open space around, if there any place. But also for that property, is there any way that we could all work together with with some of the other agencies on the coast, post whomever that may want to save open space, and put together a plan and see if there's anything that we could be worked out between the current property owners and anybody else that might be interested in helping with that. So that's my ask.
So I would comment on that various people have approached me on this. People have talked to Post, Mid-Peninsula Regional Open Space District, county parks. Everybody is either not interested or short of money is the first answer. It's only the first answer. There clearly are other properties available, not easily feasible, but Montero Water and Sanitary has some big expanses of concrete from the other half of the Army base down next to what was their sewage treatment plant, which still is an overflow, so clearly has some access issues. There's also some toxic waste down there, but there are possibilities.
You do
and-
have then Highway 1 crossing as well.
Well, we want that highway crossing anyway. So yes, I am very interested in park issues, and I will be happy to work with anybody who wants to contact me on trying to make this a park. And I don't know what you can say on this because I don't know what your board has directed you, but I have talked to one of the local realtors. The property was listed in 2007 for, I think it was $2.6 million. That lapsed. So, you know, it's not inconceivable that CSEA would be willing to sell the property if somebody can come up with the money to buy it. That's a fair chunk of change. But it's not 10 million, it's not 20 million, so it's not totally infeasible either.
Gino? I have a speaker slip for Gino.
Good evening. I think my questions have been already surfaced. So I'm Gino Padua. I'm a resident here in El Granada, and I'm speaking because I don't think my boy wants to take the microphone. But what I will say is that I think that there are a lot of kids on the coast here, especially in this area, that are in between Pacifica and Half Moon Bay. That you know, somehow we're going to need to get creative and figure out a way to create some parks and a skate park, especially for this age group that is 12 to 18. You know, surfing and skating go together, right? And I think that for the most part, and I can't speak for your property, I've never visited your property, but I know my boys.
Well, you can't surf on it.
You can't surf on it.
I know that.
I understand the liability, and,
Yeah.
and like this gentleman, I appreciate, you know, the time that the kids had to use the property. But, you know, there is liability issues there. But I think we're going to need to get creative and figure out a way. I mean, these aren't, I don't think that this group of kids or the group of kids that we supported across many sports on the coast are, you know, maybe abusing the property or causing any type of damage on the property. I mean, these are kids that are straight A kids, okay, that will represent the coast well. So I'm willing to step in and help with whatever committee or council and see if there's a way to either purchase this property or find another location to do something and see if we can act on it quickly. I mean, other great communities have acted on this type of issue. Other great cities have great skate parks and have managed a way to figure it out. And I just it'd be a shame if El Granada, Half Moon Bay, Montera, Moss Beach can't find a solution for this quickly and you know, give these kids something to do. So that's it. Thanks for the time. Okay.
Thank you. Sean Handel?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for letting me talk tonight. First, you know, thanks for taking action on the property. Appreciate the efforts you've been going through. And I guess I have 2 points. I'm a nearby resident on Lincoln Street in Moss Beach, wife and I, and we've lived there for 13 years. So I guess a couple of things that we're interested in, you know, conveying here. One is the idea of a skate park. There's clearly a need in the community for a skate park, and love to open up the idea of different locations for that, whether it's Moss Beach Park or other open space. You know, it would be great to see something in place. Second is, you know, we're going to be severely impacted if a fence goes up on that property. UPS trucks can't get down our streets, garbage trucks. I'm not sure how that actually would even work from a legal standpoint. So, you know, from a short-term perspective, we'd love to see the fence move back, if that's at all possible, you know, just further down the property or a different kind of fence or something like that. Otherwise, I'm not sure how day-to-day life continues. And then really long-term, you know, I think we'd all like to see a solution to this where the property becomes something that is more like open space like it used to be, you know, a few years ago. It was peaceful, people walking their dogs, going for hikes, riding their bikes. You know, I think that's what people really would like to see the property go back to. So, you know, I'd love to open up ideas on how that could happen, whether the county buys the property or, you know, there's a community organization that does that. You know, it might be, you know, a lot of different ways to approach that. So that's what we'd like to see.
Thank you.
Thank you. Audrey Patchett? Audrey, oh, sorry.
Hi, I'm a Moss Beach resident, and I actually have not used the property in a couple years because I was a little bit of concern for my safety because of all the kind of riffraff that was happening. So I have mixed feelings about what's going on right now, but I do think that, kind of like what Sean said, a few years ago I used to go through the property, it was really nice, and I don't like the idea of a fence going up. I would love to be able to see if we could work with our community to see if we could still make it an accessible property, but maybe just a little bit more safe with some sort of oversight or supervision, because as you said, you're managing all these other properties, you're not around a lot, so you probably don't see what's going on like we see as residents in the community. But I just want to voice my support that it is a beautiful space, and I would hate to see it be taken away from the community and the residents and the people that want to walk through there. So if there's any kind of thing that the community could do to help bridge the gap or be some sort of helper to keep that open to the residents, I would love to support that.
Thank you. Jeff McCowan?
So again, want to echo everyone's comments and thank you so much for being here. We didn't think you would, so we're all, I think, very appreciative of you showing up and explaining exactly what's going on and why, so thank you. So I'm also a Moss Beach Heights resident. I walk my dogs around the property all the time. I just have a couple of questions. First, can you give us any details on the type of fence that's going to be going up around the property?
Yeah, 6-foot cyclone fence.
Okay. And can you also give us any details about the type of security patrol that will be patrolling the property?
A random patrol through the property.
At random hours
Right.
of
Exactly.
the day? Okay.
There's not a specific shift we could avoid?
Not a specific shift.
Well, you know, I guess that brings up the higher level question, which is, given the amount of vandalism and things that we've kind of seen generally on the property, I really wonder how much a 6-foot fence is ultimately going to prevent liability from your end in terms of people just hopping over the fence or cutting out the fence or knocking down the fence or doing anything along those lines. Is this, number one, really going to ultimately accomplish what you guys are setting out to accomplish?
It's going to accomplish the requirements that have been put on us by our insurance folks. In order for us to keep our liability, we have to meet these requests. The fence, signage. So within, at that point, we've done everything in our power to communicate to the community that this is private property. If you jump over and you should get hurt, a tree falls on you.
That's your own.
Yeah.
That's your own problem. With that.
So I'm just doing what is required on our part.
So yeah, I just then want to echo everything that everyone else has said and voice my tremendous support for banding together as a community and doing ultimately whatever we can do to help preserve that open space and also to help find an outlet, obviously, for kids who clearly want and need, I think, that element of an outlet. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bill Kehoe?
Hi, Bill Keogh, Moss Beach. Roy, thank you very much for coming. I completely understand that there is a liability issue there, and I actually have a back lot in back of my house that used to have a swing set in it, and I used to have to tell parents that they couldn't let their kids in there to play because if they fall, I'd be sued.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, my neighbor, who had a grandson, asked if he could have it, and he and his son pulled it out, so I didn't have to worry about that anymore. So I understand why you want to put a fence in. But I really want to talk to is what everybody's put up here, and it's going to be to Nicholas, and he's heard this before, that it brings up the issue on the coast side of parks in general, but parks for tweens and teens. And I brought this up when the Moss Beach Park issue was going on, and when the county changed the policy to go from no neighborhood parks to supporting a neighborhood park in Moss Beach. And I asked, okay, now that you're in the business of neighborhood parks, where is the plan? Because there's a need out here. We have a skate park down on the Burnham Strip. We had the skate park that's actually been up in North Moss Beach over a decade. I don't even know how long. My son used to play there. He's in college now, so.
It was being used as a skate park in the early 80s.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, probably before I even moved here, which was about the same time. I was always too old for skate parks, so I never went there, and it's not the skate park that's causing the issue. The problem of people taking off-road and going up, they're doing the bush drinking, they're doing, but what kids will do, they do it all along Rancho Corral. We had the same issue when I was on the council with up above Clipper Ridge and that. So I asked before, I'll ask again, because I know you have a new person out there, where's the plan for parks in the county? And that will address all the different demographics that they needed. It's nice, a lot of people love the little swing parks for young kids when they're toddlers, because they haven't gotten to that point where we all get to when we're tweens and teens, when they want to be away from mom and dad and test themselves and do things, and then people start getting scared and say, oh, I don't want that next to my house. So they go and they do it in the dark little corners that aren't patrolled. So you need to address it. You need to put it out there where it's easily patrolled by the few resources we have on the coast side to make sure that bad stuff isn't going on, but where they can go out and grow and learn and do all the things that the parents and the kids have been talking about. So I'll ask you now, and then I'll start asking in public comment at all the MCC meetings that I attend, which is just about all of them. When are we going to hear a plan from the County Parks Director on dealing with those kind of parks in the unincorporated area? And if I could do a quick plug, the people in El Granada have a chance to get a CSD, a Community Service District, that is going to be able to do parks. And maybe someday we'll be able to get one up in Montero and Morris Beach, but there's that need there, so you can take that back. Thank you. Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you. Sabrina?
Hi, thanks for the opportunity, and thanks for coming tonight. I have used that land before, not with a skateboard, with a mountain bike, and it's kind of a fascinating property. I just wonder, since it's been sitting there vacant for so long, it seems like maybe the board, I don't know where they meet, your board? Where do they?
They meet in San Jose, the headquarters.
Okay.
Periodically, I'll bring them up because the new board members want to see.
Take a look.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if, and you don't have to answer this now, I'm just kind of thinking out loud, I wonder if maybe there is some opportunity to put the responsibility for the land maybe in a different entity, meaning that they keep the property, but they transfer it sort of as a maybe a short-term arrangement or something to another agency that can manage it, so that that agency has to deal with the insurance and the responsibility for the land, and they could use it for parkland. And then, that would be for a certain number of years. Obviously, the property is going to continue to go up in value, and then maybe they, the board wants to reassess at that point if they were thinking in terms of selling it. I'm just throwing out ideas since it has.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
Since it's been idle for so long, it seems like it's just, a agency like that might actually be able to do a better job of maintaining it. It's just a thought. Second thing is, just to kind of piggyback on what Bill was just saying, there is a ballot measure which is going to be on the ballot this June for El Granada residents. That's Measure G. So if you live in El Granada, you have an opportunity to vote for Measure G, and that would allow El Granada to have a community services district for the first time ever, and money could be put towards parks improvements, potentially something like a skate park, maybe something like a community center. It would be up to the community to decide, what types of projects they were interested in. So this is a big change. If this were to get approved by the voters, it would be the first time one of the unincorporated areas on the coast side would be able to essentially self-fund their parks improvements for the community. And so I don't live in El Granada, I live in Moss Beach, but I would urge anybody that lives in El Granada to support Measure G because it would definitely go a long ways towards solving some of these problems. And if you don't live in El Granada and you live in Moss Beach or Montera or Princeton, the other thing that you could consider is the Montero Water Sanitary District could potentially also become a community services district. And if Montero Water Sanitary District followed in the footsteps of Granada Sanitary District, which is looking towards becoming a community services district, if MWSD did the same thing, then we could potentially have a funding source to fund parks projects and things that would help the community. And right now, we're dependent on the county, and obviously the county has not been taking care of our community park needs. So this would be a way to make that happen for ourselves. So I just want to put that out there. If GSD does it this June, and I don't know what will happen with the election, but if they're successful, or let's just say if Measure G is successful, then the next step obviously would be, what about Moss Beach? What about Montera? And we could potentially do the same thing, and that might create some revenue that could go towards funding things like a skate park, community parks, parks for kids, things like that. So just wanted to put that out there, and I'm happy to hear from everybody tonight. Thank you. Leonard?
Leonard Warren, El Granada, and this time I guess I should mention that.
Leonard, can you just wait 1 minute? Before you leave, you sign out and with your email address so we can make sure if we have this item on the agenda or we want to reach out to you on this topic, we can get in touch with you. There's a sign-in sheet out there on that. Thank you. Sorry, Leonard.
This time at the podium, I'll mention that I'm on the Granada Sanitary District Board and have been pushing this reorg for quite a long time. It was originally proposed to the Sanitary District Board in July of 2000. So it's coming up on 14 years. This situation with the ad hoc Moss Beach skate park combined with the near loss of Moss Beach Park just underscores in a huge way how critically important it is that public recreation areas be publicly owned. You can't go do it on somebody else's land. The skateboard ramp that's out here on the Burnham Strip is actually not on GSD property. And sooner or later, the property owner is going to tell them to move it, and then where to. I think that people within GSD, the Granada Sanitary District, really, if you care at all about parks and recreation facilities, need to vote for Measure G. Those of you not in Granada Sanitary District, encourage your voting friends who are within the Granada Sanitary District to vote for Measure G. And I do see that this will catch on. I have my personal feelings about exactly what the situation is with parks and Montero Water and Sanitary, and I think that if you want them to do it, our Measure G really needs to pass, because they're not going to try it if Measure G fails for Granada. Now, I need to correct a little bit of what Sabrina said. I appreciate Sabrina's comments, but I need to point out the Granada Sanitary District serves significantly more than just El Granada. And Princeton is in Granada, not in Montero.
Oh, thank you.
The dividing line is in fact somewhere around Big Wave. All of Big Wave is within the Granada Sanitary District. Yes, all of it. So the Granada Sanitary District serves all of Miramar, all of Princeton, all of El Granada, Clipper Ridge, and all the way down to a creek called Frenchman's Creek. Now, I cannot identify specific properties, but I can think of at least 4 locations within Granada Sanitary District that might be suitable for a skate park. I can't promise anything. It hasn't been discussed with the board. I'm not here representing the board. I'm speaking as an individual director with no authority outside of a board meeting. But when Measure G passes, and I think that it will, the board will hold public meetings, sometimes in this room, which is, this room is part of Granada's space. We lease it. And sometimes if we expect a big turnout, it'll be down at the El Granada School. And we will solicit public input on what to do and what to do first. But, the problem that is the core of the discussion tonight, I know of at least 3 other recreational facilities built by the public on land they don't own within GSD's boundary. So the only solution is you have to have a government agency to publicly own the land. Now, keying off of something Sabrina suggested, one possibility might be if a Moss Beach group can be formed. I'm not sure what legal structure would be required. Potentially, and MPL, Midcoast Parklands, which is basically El Granada, all that was intended to be the whole coast side when it was formed. Midcoast Parklands used to lease Quarry Park from the county. So the county owned it. MPL had to raise the money for the insurance. I think it was $5,000 a year. Then? Yeah, $5,000 a year. But it's doable, and if you can form the appropriate legal entity, probably 501c3, you may be able to arrange with the property owner, if you can prove that you have the insurance, to lease the property until they have other plans for it. It's a possibility that I think everybody needs to get together and look at and see if you can pull it off. As far as liability, there was a comment, I think, on Talk About. I can't remember where, but sometime in the last few days, there was a comment about liability. That the state legislature some years back passed a law declaring skateboarding to be a high-risk activity, and the owner of a skate facility, if they require helmets and one other thing that I can't remember right now, then they have no liability. Okay, but in any case, the owner of a skate park can protect themselves by following certain procedures, and then they have no liability. So that's it.
Thank you. Richard Gates?
Richard Gates, Moss Beach. My wife, Dolores, and I live on the property adjacent to this property. We've been there for 24 years. I don't know, 6, 7 years ago, these kids started to move in, put plywood ramps in, skate in the spunkers. Over time, I watched them haul sacks of concrete back there, bricks. They worked really hard, and I watched them. And I grew up in Ventura, surfing, skating. So I had great empathy for these kids. And I did not intend to speak tonight, but when these boys spoke, I just want to say thank you to them. Because they were great. They never bothered our property. They were great neighbors. And the only problem I ever had was kids arriving in cars and tremendous amount of litter. I got really weary of picking up litter. But when I would see it, I'd go over, talk to these kids. Their response was fabulous. We'll pick it up, sir. We're sorry. So they were great neighbors. I'm really sorry to see it go. But I also want to thank Mr. Ramos and his organization. Because to be their neighbors They were absolutely passive for the nearly 25 years we were there. We had great use of their property. We never were restricted at all. Incidents came up, they were forced to respond. And I think the response has been accurate and fair. And I'm very sorry about the skate park. And it's just one of these things where you construct something on private property, you can't expect to keep it. The boys had a good run, and they were good kids. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kai?
Good evening, everyone. So yeah, my name is Kai. I'm an adjacent property owner to the property that we're talking about. You know, I guess the first thing that I would want to say is that I also would want to echo most of the sentiments that we need to come up with some alternatives here for the skate park. I was born and raised in Half Moon Bay, and I grew up skating and surfing. I still surf to this day 3-4 days a week, and you know, those kinds of activities, especially when you're 12, 13, 14, and not particularly mobile, are incredibly important to being a child. The other thing that I do want to reiterate is that the placement of that fence is going to have a very high impact on our property. It's not just about delivery trucks and garbage trucks, but you know, I don't think, in all honesty, that a fire truck could get dead on the road without that gravel lot. You know, so if I have to call 911 because my wife or my daughter, you know, my neighbors are in trouble, I literally don't think that we could get an emergency vehicle to the house without that gravel lot. So I would encourage you to please think about that. You know, just setting it back enough to get some vehicles through the gravel lot seems like it would be adequate. And then I would just pose a question to you. I do appreciate you being here tonight. I know this is not exactly the friendliest environment for all this, but have you considered any kind of an environmental impact study on putting up a fence on a piece of property that's quite large and has been open for, you know, I'm 35 years old and it's been open the entire day that I've been here. Have you considered that at all?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
Hi, my name is Deborah Harder-Williams, and I represent a new group called Coastside Conversations. And I must say, this is the most impressive public meeting I have ever attended. The level of civility and listening and true conversation has been most impressive. My group is trying to get that to happen across the coastside. This may be a perfect opportunity. We're collecting groups of people to discuss particularly parks and those that affect everybody, from what's happening in GSD to new things happening in Half Moon Bay. And I'm a resident of Moss Beach, and I used to have a half pipe in my backyard. So I am totally relating to all of this. We would like to help gather information and get people talking about it and bring neighbors together. I have some of my business cards here. We have a Facebook page, and we can also be located at coastsideconversations.com. So I look forward to working with some of you as neighbors and having a conversation. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Hi, my name is Victor Lee. I'm a resident up in Moss Beach Heights also. Thank you for being here, Mr. Ramos and Ms. Ketchum. I go back to over 3 decades in the area. When Mr. Foster owned the property, I believe he was the original property owner. And in the 80s, during winter, it was a dirt road. Our friends could not make it to our house because it's just full of muddy potholes. And the residents on Buena Vista to Lincoln got fed up with it, and they finally discussed with the county on a means of having the road paved. And I think it was over 30-some residents chipped in. The county approved the asphalt road from Buena Vista to Lincoln. It wasn't code, so there were no sidewalks. It was understanding that it was paved and we would take care of it. The residents would take care of it. and that's been there for 20-some years. Okay, so I understand your liability. Mr. Foster had liability. I think the second owner was Corrado Federico from Esprit. He had liability. He sold it to an Iranian group, I believe. They have liability. And if I'm correct, you're the fourth owner of the property. So all four owners have liability. But for whatever reasons recently, the sleeping giant's been awoken. Okay? We walk our dogs. We have friends who come walk their dogs. People respected the property. I'm not going to talk about the skate park because that's history already. But I think 95+% of people that walk their animals or rode their bikes or just even walk the property respected it. For you to consider putting a fence up there would be a travesty. And also, there's no way a fire truck could make it down to Lincoln Street in case of a fire. So I would ask you to consider a little pathway so that trucks, fire truck, garbage trucks, or any other kind of other trucks could traverse and make a complete turn, because a fire truck would be stuck right at the end of Buena Vista in Lincoln, and they would have to pull the hose 4 houses down to put a fire out, and by that time, it might be too late. The other alternative would be, if you're really going to put a fence for liability purposes, you make a roundabout at the end of Lincoln. But that precludes a fire truck not being able to get down there anyway. So I would ask you to consider these particular options.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
Those are very valid reasons. If you would just send me an email, I will bounce it off our attorneys and see what their positions are. And that's the best I can do.
Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody here from Friends of Moss Beach Park Board?
I actually am. But
Could
it's
you?
like so newly formed that it's
Well, still,
nothing.
could you come up to the podium? I had a couple of questions, or
I don't really have anything yet.
Well,
I'm very upset.
But
so
you're
I
here,
apologize in
you know, and
advance that because I'm shaking because I'm.
What's your name?
My name is Julie Brookman, and I just recently went on to board meeting on Tuesday and volunteered, so I probably know nothing. But I personally would like to see Moss Beach Park have a skate park. My husband just spoke. We need recreation for kids. It's essential, and the county needs to help us. And it has to happen. Because I have a 2-year-old daughter. It's not relevant at all to my personal life, but I've known plenty of boys who are up to no good in skate parks and things like that, keep them out of trouble, and it keeps them doing positive, healthy activities that are essential for. I want to see a skate park in the concrete area, personally, but that's just my own, that's not the Moss Beach Park.
So I talked to Chris Eckberg today. I think he's the president of your board.
I think so.
Well,
Yes.
anyway, he's on the board. I don't know if he's the president or not. And he said that, as you said, the initial meeting, newly formed board, you briefly talked about the skate park there, but that they have basically front and center to decide what improvements the county's scheduled to do imminently there. And so that was the focus. But he also said that there's, maybe you know about this, Nicholas, that's potentially a meeting with probably Marlene. In May.
Yeah.
And I asked him if that would be open to community members, and he said yes, and he would let me know the date and all. So that would be, I'm thinking shades of Midcoast Park and Rec Committee or something, or I don't know what they have in mind, but basically county staff meeting with your board and to talk about Moss Beach Park, and that would certainly be an opportunity to talk about whether this is wanted there, whether the county would do it, or just, to bring it up. And maybe the meeting would even be here in this room. I don't have a date. But anyway, I did look up
That would be a great
the
opportunity. Thank you.
The parcel's there, and the larger parcel is Moss Beach Park, and then the smaller parcel down, it's basically across from the grocery store. The trees along there, that's a creek, so you have riparian setbacks to work with, but that smaller parcel owned by somebody else is zoned residential, and it's way too small to build on. And I looked up, and I think their assessed property value is like $7,000. So I don't know what the deal is, why they hang on to it. Chris?
From what I understood from, I think Chris, I'm so bad with names, I should have written it down. He
Yeah.
said that the property owner has visions of a
This-
beachside cottage there and wasn't interested in selling.
He
but
mentioned that
maybe-
to me too, but that may be old news. I mean, it's certainly worth revisiting. But as I went over to look at the two corners, I mean, you have the upper right corner where there's a grassy area, but the problem there is, or the less desirable there is that it's near homes. Whereas the parcel down there that's not part of the park
would be quieter.
has highway noise anyway, and it's across from the store, and so it seemed like something intriguing to look into. And but anyway, what I would envision is that this is another opportunity, a place to discuss, place for a skate park, and this would be with the board for the Moss Beach Park. When they get together with the county, it's an opportunity to have everybody there in a room and talk about this. So I will, when we find out when this meeting has happened, I'll post that on the MCC website.
Does the county have any suggestions or comments on how to make that happen?
Do you have any thoughts, Nicholas?
I can incorporate that into my comments at the end, or I can talk now. It's
This could be the end.
well, does anyone else have any comments that they'd like to make?
Yeah, I think we were done.
Oh,
I just made Julie comment. Did you have anything else you wanted to? Okay, I didn't want to speak for Moss Beach Park. Friends of-
I didn't really say anything on
Okay,
the parks
thank
that
you.
happened, just if, I would like to see good things happen for the kids and on behalf of the Moss Beach Park that are not just toddlers, but older kids as well.
Oh, one more thing that Chris said on the phone today, that, as far as whether the people with the younger kids would want the skate park there, and Chris pointed out that, their kids are going to get older, and they're,
It's a
so
way to
it
incorporate a
might-
longer use for the park, not just for
Yeah.
a few years, because I think that it's important to not have it just be for a couple-year period and then the kids go off. I think you need to have, and a place for, I mean, a lot of people who use the skate park weren't kids, they were 25. I mean, they look older than kids. I don't know exactly how old they were, but they were, it's healthy athletic activity. It's not just, not just for little kids. It could be for all age groups. And I'm sure my husband would get on a skateboard.
Well, so may I comment? before-
Sure, come up to the microphone.
It's just my association. My association with the kids, actually the young men that were using this park, as this began to develop, and it looked like it was going to reach a crisis, I told them that it looked like this was going to go. And I told them that they were not the cause of it. And it was ironic that they weren't the issue. And if you were there to watch them develop this, it was something they created themselves. And it was in a location that was very special. And they're not playground kids. I mean, when she said 25, I mean, there were these boys that came and skated down there, rode their bicycles down there. But I'd say much more than them were 21, 28. And they're not going to go to playgrounds. It's not that kind of thing. And so you have this thing about playgrounds, it's not applicable. It's not. Certainly not in what they had created there. If you want to put it in as a skate ramp like they have in Half Moon Bay, maybe, but not what these guys had. This was something different. And if you think you can substitute it with something in a playground, It's not true.
Well, I didn't mean that we would recreate what was over there at this park. I just thought it's a start. It's a start. And,
Yeah, well,
the county has been putting great effort into various projects here in Midcoast, and just very recently snatched this back from where it was going, and Devil's Slide Trail and all this stuff, and so this seemed like something to begin with, you know, and we've had this discussion about Granada Sanitary, if they get parks powers, I mean, eventually something could happen there, but I just wanted to point this out about Moss Beach Park, because it might be a place to slip something in for the smaller boys. I understand, it's right out in the open, it's not hidden away, but maybe if they're 28 years old, they,
well, the thing is, what was related to me, and you know, these young boys that were here, that I would see there, was that what they created there was like a very advanced skate park, very advanced, and it was built by skaters for skaters. And they pointed out to me that these young boys at 14 years old were advancing very quickly. Because like in riding waves, you know, if you can ride good waves and big waves on a daily basis, you're going to get good a lot faster. And it's the same way with this park. And that's what was happening, that they created something very special. It was really like, they were looking at it as, you know, a training ground for great future skaters. And, you know, it's they have to create it themselves. They have to be involved. And they did it themselves there. They bucked those bags of concrete up there. You know? They worked hard.
Yeah, I wanted to make a comment on that. When I was first pulled into this, I did spend time talking to some of the skaters up there. As it happens, most of the ones I talked to were not from the Midcoast. But it was very clear that the building part was a very important part of this to them. So if we can find a place where something like that can be built and with appropriate liability insurance, I think that if we can get some of those same people the opportunity to come in and help build it rather than just hire some contractor to build a skate park, that we will we'll have a lot happier bunch of kids and free labor too.
Okay, Nicholas. Oh.
Add one quick thing. So there was some talk about GSD turning into a CSD. I want to, for a lot of people that don't know anything about what a CSD is, I'd like to offer an example. Look to El Dorado Hills, California. They have a very good CSD. Go to their website, eldoradohillscsd.org. They've got a wonderful skate park. My cousin lives up there. She's the one who informed me. And the skate park is used, always packed, always packed. It's a great, they offer park and rec, so it's something to look at. El Dorado Hills, CSD.org.
Explain what a CSD is.
It's Community Services District. And the community would get to decide what would be installed and how it would be installed.
Let me explain the CSD.
So Leonard, can I suggest we stay with this?
Real quick.
Yeah, could Nicholas go, because now people are going to leave. Yeah, Nick, you had a turn. Okay.
So,
Do I need to sit through this, or?
No. Do you want to make a comment before you leave, or?
Well, I just want to say thank you for your comments. Again, I would take it that if you want to send me an email, particularly on the fencing and the environmental report, please do. I didn't respond to your question as best as I could, but as far as the environmental report, I was working with Ana Santiago, who's the code enforcer for the County of San Mateo, and she never requested that I needed one. So I should have responded in that fashion, so I apologize.
It's the standard, it's within the property setbacks, it's below the height that requires a permit. For the fencing, yes, fencing is a very special case in the building code. Thanks.
Okay.
A quick question before you leave.
Yes.
Is there any way that the board would consider an alternate liability company that may not have such rigorous um, demands of a fence, you know, that, especially in light with what was brought up, that there is an established reducible liability if there's an skate park. Well, the skate park's gone, so I guess it's not an issue, but, you know, in this particular unique situation, maybe there might be another insurance company that would work without putting a standalone fence up.
I'm not saying that they're closed to any options, but they need to be put forth.
Okay.
Because all we keep doing is hearing and hearing, and nothing's been brought forth.
Okay.
So that's where it really stands. And Judy Taylor is someone that's represented us on this coast, so she's a realtor that's brought proposals to us in the past, so that's who we work with.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thanks again.
We'll be posting it on the website as well.
Yeah, thanks
With my
again for your
picture.
time, Roy.
Exactly.
Appreciate it.
Okay, thanks. Nice meeting you.
Thanks, Roy.
Thanks, Roy.
Nicholas?
So first, I'd like to thank everyone for coming. I know I've had conversations with some of you, and I've read emails from others, and so I understand that this parcel is extremely important to all of you. You know, and it's clear that there's two different elements of it. There's the element of the skate park, and there's the element of the fencing. It wasn't too long ago before I didn't skate. I biked, and I remember, you know, every opportunity I could, I'd be at Beresford Park where there were tabletops that kids would make, and then, you know, every couple of weeks the city of San Mateo would come around and tear them down, and then the kids would go out, you know, other kids would go out, back out, build it up, and then eventually the city built a bocce ball court on it. So we lost our recreation to a bocce ball court. I kind of enjoy the bocce ball court now, but not at the time. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So you know, I understand. I can empathize with what's happening right now. You know, so what happened was this issue was brought to the county by several people in the community, not just recently, but also as far back as almost 3.5 years ago. So this is something that we've been discussing with community members for a very long time, and you know, we were asked to do something, which was talk to the landowners, and that's what we did. We passed emails on to the landowners, and we let them know the conversations we've had, and when they saw the emails, the videos, that's when they became concerned, and they took the action that they felt was necessary. I can't make any promises for the existing parcel right now. You know, Roy said that he would, he asked that people email him regarding the dirt path that first responders and service cars use, and I would recommend people to do that. In addition to that, I will speak with Supervisor Horsley about himself sending one, because I think, as many of you heard, right? No, I was just, you beat me to it. As you guys heard me talk earlier, it's a public safety hazard, and we take public safety very serious. So I will speak with Supervisor Horsley about directly sending something to their representatives and their attorneys, and making sure that gets around at the very least. As far as what does the future of recreation on the Midcoast look like for kids who skate, you know, I couldn't tell you, but what I can tell you is this isn't the first time that this conversation has been had. Several months ago, this issue came up when our Parks Director came to a Midcoast Community Council meeting to discuss the Parks Plan and the priorities, and I have no doubt that it's going to come up again. And Bill Keogh in the back said he's going to bring it up every meeting, and I know Bill very well, so I know that it is going to get brought up every meeting. What?
We need needs fulfillment.
So you know what I can sit here and promise you today is that I'm gonna make sure that our Parks Director hears the message that we need rec out here for teenagers. Rec out here that's not just hiking and going to the beach. You know, we need more forms of recreation out here, and I'll make sure that the supervisor hears that, and I'll make sure that the Parks Director hears that. Like I said, I'll promise that, I can promise you that I'll speak with Supervisor Horsley about getting a letter to them about first responders and using that dirt lot for vehicular access. And I can promise you guys that if you email and if you call, and I'll leave some of my cards as well, if you email and call, we will respond. I will answer, I will call you back, I will respond to your emails. And any concerns that you guys maybe did not bring up tonight that you would like to bring up in the future, I'm happy to have that conversation with everyone. Unfortunately, that's kind of the most I can promise right now. I'm not a decision maker. I work for the supervisor, and I'll make sure that he hears what everyone has said. But that's the most I can promise right now. And I'll work with the Friends of Moss Beach Park. I've worked with them in the past. I'll continue to work with them to see what options there are going forward. But if anyone has any questions for me, any comments that they'd like me to bring to the supervisor, I'm happy to field them right now. I'm happy to have conversations with people whenever. I can stick around. I'll be at my desk the rest of the week and all next week and all the week after that. And pretty much always there. If I'm not out here, I'm at my desk, and I'm very accessible.
So Nicholas, I do have one thing, and I didn't bring it up with Roy because he'd already made pretty clear this was at the board, CSA board directive, but I've heard multiple comments already about the security patrol. It's, shall we say, intimidating.
Okay.
So I understand maybe where that came from, particularly while they're putting in the fence. But if the security patrol can be toned down significantly, I think that Dawn has gotten the sheriff's department to do a pretty good job patrolling. I don't think we really need a private patrol, certainly on the property.
I will pass that along as well.
It's also super disruptive for the people who live on Lincoln Street to have a car driving by every 30 minutes. It's like enough to make, I live on a quiet dirt road because I don't want to have a car driving by every 30 minutes. It's horrible.
Understood, yeah.
Absolutely.
So they've already started?
Unacceptable, yeah.
Every half hour?
For a while there it was. It was giving, my kid was freaking out, like, because every time the car comes by, it's awful. It's not acceptable.
That's yeah.
It's
I would
totally
agree.
excessive.
I
This is
agree.
not like Fort Knox.
Yeah, and I'll see if the private patrol.
And they're rude on top of that.
Okay.
And driving fast.
I will see if the new private patrol company can somehow work with the sheriff's office, and maybe the sheriff's office can.
The sheriff was doing a great job. They were handling it perfectly. I don't know why. I'm sorry.
No, please. No.
All we needed was the sheriffs to come by, drive around, and all the problems were solved. We didn't need the skate park torn down. We didn't need anything. The sheriffs were handling it. And that's all that they needed was, because they're just kids. They don't want to drive there if there's a sheriff there. So this whole fencing, all the stuff that they're doing is excessive. It's going to kill our property values. It's going to kill my view. It's going to kill our enjoyment of our homes. It's horrible. It makes me want to vomit. I'm so upset.
Understood. And I'll make sure that message gets passed along.
Well, unfortunately, the problem is the fence is not going to keep all the people in.
They'll just cut it down.
Yeah, and I think I can't speak on behalf of Roy, but I think that my takeaway was he kind of understood that, but as he said it, he has specific requirements that his insurance company has established, and that's what they have to do.
Question about that, could the county look into an arrangement through the board to provide the insurance?
I'll chip in a couple $1,000.
Maybe there would be some donations also, so that the land could still be, used for public access.
So the way we do insurance is a little bit different. So we don't do it through an insurance company. Yeah, we're self-insured. So it's
Okay, well,
completely
here,
different.
let's try
And
this. Quarry Park,
we all know how that worked, right, before the county took it over. So the public paid for the insurance, and the county helped manage the property. An arrangement like that, that's the question.
I can propose that. Quarry Park, the situation at Quarry Park is very different than this situation.
Well, now it is.
Right, and so I'm not, I don't like to make, compare apples and oranges, because I don't want to give the impression that, it worked at Quarry Park, it's clearly gonna work here.
Yeah.
So I try to be careful when making those comparisons, because they're two very different situations. I can propose that at the office tomorrow and see what Parks and County Council says about it, but
It is a
I
pretty
can.
astoundingly beautiful
And
spot.
and I understand that. I think, and I understand that, once again, the situations are very different, and these private property owners don't want people on it, and that's where the difference lies. Whereas with Quarry Park, the owner had a different opinion.
If they let people use it for 25 years, haven't they yielded at some level of the right?
I'm not an attorney. I can't. Right.
So the state legislature in 2009 actually specifically passed a law removing that kind of prescriptive rights, but there's an explicit exception for properties within 1,000 yards of the coast. This property is clearly within 1,000 yards of the coast.
So I'll have our county council look into that.
That would be great.
I can't speak for.
I'm not trying to start an adversarial.
No,
war
I
between us and
understand that.
CSEA, but it
No,
would
and I
be good to
understand.
understand the county council's opinion of that situation.
Just a note on Quarry Park, you're right, but I think the relevant thing in Quarry Park was that when it was operated by private interest, by Midcoast Park owns is 501c3, they paid the insurance for Quarry Park, but right next door was the post land. The post always maintained fencing and basically at least a posture of keeping people out of it. But as soon as the county took responsibility for Quarry Park, with no change to their insurance, I believe, Post was amenable to ease their restrictions on the land. So the umbrella that the county provides really has tangible value.
Yeah, I mean, what?
But you have to investigate it.
Yeah, and like I said, they're very different situations when you really dive into it. But the last thing I would like to say is just I do want to thank all of you for coming. Please let your neighbors and friends who have left, let them know that I appreciate hearing from them. And someone said it earlier, I do appreciate your civility on this. I know this is not an easy situation. I know you're all being directly impacted by this decision. And I've been at meetings where less has been at stake, and people get extremely rowdy, extremely rude. And so I really can't thank you enough for the civility and for calmly and politely expressing yourself, but most importantly, just participating in the process and letting us know where you guys, how you feel, where you stand, and what you'd like to see. So I do thank you for that.
Can I just ask one quick question that I was actually asked Dave just now? So I know in Pacifica, they have a skate park right there next to the community center. And so, I don't have the answer to this, but I was just wondering, and perhaps somebody in the audience knows, but how did that come to be? Like, how is it working there?
So,
Very good Parks and Rec department.
yeah, so cities have park and rec departments that focus on community parks and recreation. The county, several months ago, as many of you know, just kind of started operating our first pocket park. And it was not something that the county said, hey, we really want to do this. I mean, how do we make this happen? That was a situation, an extremely unique situation where there was a tax sale of a land, and that land had a tot lot or a playground on it. It was owned by a nonprofit who wanted to see the existing use continue, and so we had a very unique situation on our hand, and we acted accordingly at that time. This situation is far different. The county doesn't do park and rec, and that's where the issue, that's where the challenge comes in. That's not kind of what our department has ever done. And like I said, I mean, we're months into taking over our first playground. And I mean, I'm constantly meeting with the Parks Department to figure out how we're handling this, because we don't have the expertise, we don't have the experience. And it might sound ridiculous, because I understand as it comes out of my mouth how ridiculous it sounds. But managing a tot lot is actually more difficult than you might imagine. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I took a field trip with the parks director and the code compliance individual, and I mean, things that I saw that were on playgrounds when I was playing on them, which obviously it's been quite some years since I've been on a playground, but there were things that they're like, oh, well, this right here, this is, there's a lawsuit waiting to happen, but in order to replace this little gap right here, it's, $15,000. It's, we can't put a piece of wood there to block the gap, and they're like, no, that's a lawsuit waiting to happen. And it's like, okay, and then here's another one. It's like, oh, a kid's gonna, a child can get a splinter here and hurt themselves. And so we have to replace this entire play structure. So, we're still figuring out how to best manage, one playground. A skate park is a whole nother beast in itself, also. But I will bring this message back nonetheless, and we will see if there's a future for skate parks being managed by the county. But so far, pocket parks, community parks are not the direction we're going.
Okay, thanks.
Of course.
Are we done with this item? I think we are. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, everybody who came. Thank you for your.
I had a long drive back, so but I'm happy to talk with anyone in the back.
Do any council members have any council activity to report?
Yes, of course.
Let's also his card, because you were interested in speaking to him about the fire department and trucks. So that was his card. He left it for you.
We are adjourned.
Okay, of course, yeah, go ahead and give me a call. Thank you. Pretty much all the time, so.
That was Roy Ramos. He's the facilities manager for CSEA.
Oh, okay.
And I had sent him mail about the meeting and said it would be great if he could be here.